And so it begins.
Save them.
Oh, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, can you hardly even believe it? Welcome back to the BUTZ Show here, you know, in Studio A, B. I don't know where we are, but, folks, wherever we are live. Yes. Let them hear it. You know, I'm actually manning the controls. So there might be some strange reaching around and stuff that I got to do a couple reach arounds before I can get live here. Isn't that how it is in the business? 3, 4. I suppose, ladies and gentlemen, you've noticed this, sexy hunk of jamming male right here next to my left. This is the first in-studio guest I've been able to welcome onto the show since I started doing it this way. So also, just let me know if anything needs anything. But, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to help you. Make some noise for Rod Weber. Hi, Rod.
Hey, how you doing?
Great. I can hear you. I can hear me. I just want to make sure everything's good. Wow, we are off and rolling here. I almost wish I was rolling. What up, Rohan? I see you there. Wow, this is fun. It's great to be back. It's great to hear the BUTZ Show theme. Let it ring! Wow, this is a lot of fun. I missed this. I can see me there. We've got a new setup. You know, I'm just waiting for the theme to end. I'm not going to cut it off, but I'm just ready to get into it. I can hardly believe my good luck. It's been so long, folks. How about another round of applause? It's really loud. All right, wonderful. Wow, it really is such a pleasure to be back. Yeah. And now, folks, we can relax. Rohan's already is like, it needs Lammi. Well, Lammi's upstairs. He's listening. He'll chime in with some comments. He's going to tell me what I need. But just let me get going here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Rod. He used to be on my show quite a bit back when it was a radio show. Rod, it's really hard to encapsulate Rod in any sort of way. I'll say, like I said in my post, that he's a documentarian. I think in a general multimedia artist. I've known Rod to be a musician. I've known him to make movies. And lately he's sort of gained a lot of attention as being someone who puts himself into the thick of it. In the era that he was on the show previously, he was able to, he had an alter ego known as, he never had a name so much as the name that was bestowed on him. He was the Flower Man. You know, that was a very special era for you because it really put you on the map. It gave you I think you really found your voice through the Flower Man.
You know, sometimes you've got to wear a mask to show your own inner truth, even though that truth is fictitious. It digs down to your soul and gets in your eyes and down in your heart.
Yeah, I mean that's how Bane felt about it. We all know that he basically said that nobody cared what he had to say until he put on the mask. Yeah.
Touche.
Thank you. Right. So I mean that's a real thing, and we're all wearing masks these days.
Well, Now I've been made a fool.
No, come on. I mean, I'm back,
first-
folks. I'm back.
Within my first sentence, I've been owned.
That's all right, dude. I'm just, you know what? Listen. You spent.
No, you got me.
You spent.
You got me,
You
man.
spent the whole time getting ready, getting to be in mid. You were in mid-episode
here
form.
playing bass.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just sneaking up. I'm just getting stretched out over here.
Wow.
Cape
Nice.
Cod is on board.
He's back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Michael Butler with the BUTZ Show. Am I too loud?
No, I just feel like I lost something there for a second.
Yeah, well, it was your show virginity. You
Yeah.
went away for like 5 months or something.
Yeah, and it's funny. I guess I should get into that. I mean, where did I go? What was I doing?
Let's hear it.
It's basically there are no rules in quarantine. It's like in the beginning, it was a really desperate time. It's like the second that they canceled all the live events, it went with like the programming. They no longer had like a studio audience. You couldn't bring your staff in to do a television show. No one knew anything, so all the shows were canceled. All programming, all escapism was canceled. There's nothing for us to be able to take our...
Let's be real, that's what music is.
Right. It's something that helps us take our mind off troubles. It's just something, well, that's what's left in all of this.
That's the arts in general, and I'd say that a society should be based on the achievements of their artists and
Here,
their
here.
culture, you know?
Yeah, well, that's a whole discussion right there. I mean, basically, yeah, let me just get
Well,
that.
it is, for real. I mean, and that's one of the big cultural boundaries, I think, between right-leaning thinking and left-leaning thinking. And it's weird that it's the lefty thinkers that are kind of on about keeping you in and doing the whole mask thing, whereas traditionally they'd be more about the culture is important, and so you're getting like the Nancy Pelosi's and the Chuck Schumers out there that are saying that the arts are non-essential, and that's not how it was back in the PBS days. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh, stay right on. Well,
Yeah.
Am I close enough? Or like hot on it? you're
Yeah.
saying? Okay.
I mean,
I'll get
I'm
hot
listening
on
to it, yeah. You
Okay.
can even take it off the stand and work
Is it buzzing? Are we good?
No, you sound great. I'll just
get right on
Yeah,
it.
just get right on
I'll get
it.
my COVID on here.
Yeah, it's okay, dude. I'll quarantine the microphone for 2
Oh, my
weeks after you
corona.
leave. Yeah, see, I thought that was a nice touch. I invited Rod over, and he brings Corona into my studio.
And I asked to put it in a cup, but he felt as though we need corporate sponsors.
Yeah, well, I just wanted a cue for that bit, right? You know,
Sure, why not?
it worked like a charm.
They didn't have the regular kind. They just had the Corona.
Wait, I got like one sound effect here. No, you know what? I got more than that. But how about a round of applause for the bit going well, right?
Hooray! Hooray, everyone! I brought Corona into your studio, you bastard.
Yeah, no, it's all right. You never know. You might have. I don't know.
Yeah.
But and it's crazy. Honestly, I got to get back into Rod here because, hey, if you don't know who I am, maybe you'll figure it out if you at some point. I don't know if maybe you're here. This is my page. Rod actually shared the link, so we could be reaching a whole new group of people. I'm Michael Butler. I used to do a radio show now. Because of current conditions, people needing to hear some information in the beginning, I was forced back into action. There was nothing going on, like we were saying, and
but you did a great set, at least from what I could see from the videos. Was that like a week ago or something like that? We're watching upstairs.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? Just to get into the breakdown of where I've been. Ultimately, I started focusing on music. You basically get into whatever gets you through the night is all right, is sort of what it comes down to. And for a while, our sanity was provided by getting out there every day and creating something when there was nothing. There was a void that happened instantly, and because of that void, we ended up, needing something to do. There was nothing to watch. There was nothing to see. There was nowhere to go. So, I felt like, why not? And plus, I had an opportunity to do a live stream with my band, and now I can no longer have my band together, and we were preparing to do that.
Wait, why not?
Well, at the time, because you couldn't only have 10 people in a room, and we didn't even know it, and it was early, and so you didn't really even know at the time as to whether that made sense. It's like, well, they say you shouldn't have more than 10 people in the room, but should we have 8 people? That doesn't mean we should have 8 people, because we could be getting each other sick. No one had any testing at that point. There were no numbers. There were no stats. Everyone was like, screw it. So it was basically me and Lammi, and we said, why don't we just start doing this instead of that? Because we got to do something, because we were going to go stir crazy. And then it just became
Well,
something
but
else.
why not just do it with a smaller band? I remember you doing like the Steely Dan tunes.
Well,
and
yeah,
some,
that-
cool.
yeah, that
cool
was
shit with, and I was wondering why that stopped happening. But I guess there's your answer.
Oh, well, you know what happened was that was part of what came from doing the show. Was we started to I started also with Barely Dead. We couldn't do we had a residency that we had to change, that we had to postpone, and now subsequently the club has been closed. That residency is
That
now
sucks.
There will be Barely Dead on Wednesdays again, but then again it won't be there. So, but however, in the interim, we started.
Wait. So they're shut down permanently?
Yeah, that's a thing. In case you didn't know, Thunder Road will not be reopening its doors. And if so, likely not is Thunder Road. I don't really know what the plan is for what happened in the sale.
That's so fucked up. That's what's got me so fucking upset about the entirety of this thing. Because it's one thing to shut it down for safety, and I'm all for that. But if they're gonna do that, they need to be able to have, throughout a safety net, which the United States of America, allegedly the richest, most powerful country in the whole fucking world, should have the money to give it to you and I and every single citizen in this country, rather than giving trillions of dollars to the mega corporations. The airline industry got $10 billion right there. Fucking the entirety of the Democrats, the Republicans, Bernie Sanders, AOC, all those motherfuckers sold all of you out. Fine, I'll get right on it. I'm just giving you the yeah, fucking Beastie Boys stuff. I'll get right on it. I don't fucking give a fuck. But the fact of the matter is that when they can pass this bill through, Bernie Sanders gets up there and filibusters. And I know a lot of you out there love this motherfucker. He did a lot of good things, but I just know from being on the campaign trail, he never had the fucking muster to really pull it through. I know through my personal interactions that he was going to be the sheepdog that he is, that Chris Hedges and Ralph Nader and all the fucking other motherfuckers that said he would be a sheepdog were right, that he would be a sheepdog. And then he fucking brought everyone back to the flock, to Joe Biden in this fucking case. And then, so he goes up there and filibuster, not even a real filibuster. He gives a little fucking lip service to people when they're talking about doing this stimulus package. The CARES Act, we care. You don't fucking care. You gave it to the airlines. You gave it to the billionaires, the mega corporations who fund your motherfucking shit. And you sold us the fuck out.
Rod Weber, ladies and gentlemen.
We were being calm before.
Yeah, let's reel it in. But I hear your passion, and I hear what you're saying. I mean, we got to have a dialogue here. I understand the passion.
Sorry.
I did limit his Corona intake.
Yep.
But he cheated with getting the large one. No,
I said I was going to get a 40.
I'm just breaking balls over here. But anyway, what I'm saying is that look, there's a lot of things to be upset about, and we can unpack them one at a time. In fact, I'm more interested in this ongoing case you got going with Donald Trump.
Oh yeah.
So okay, I want to. There's so much to get up to date, and we could talk about me, but I was trying to avoid that. Right.
Sorry.
I want to move past. Maybe we'll get D Vibes on the phone or something, and we'll talk about where we've been. But, for the time being, I got Rod here. This is a guest, and I want to talk about you. So I want to know, essentially, from the Flower Man, you've rebooted for this year's election. You've let go of that character. Now you're more sort of you're more tailor-made to the situation.
Well, I think specific situations and specific times call for the moment. Artists should be a reflection of the time that they live in. And in 2015, 2016, which was leading up to that election, Flowers for Peace, which was the shtick that I was doing, passing out a flower and trying to facilitate conversation, whether it's Jeb Bush or John Kasich, where I'm doing the troubadour thing or what have you. I'm playing along with their shenanigans so that I can get a spot on the stage, and it's kind of like a low-level
Right.
trolling in which they invite you into their events. It's as if you remember, not Larry the Cable Guy, but they had Joe the Plumber back in the McCain election, which was
if you don't remember Joe,
if
you don't remember Joe the Plumber, then you really aren't paying attention.
So I, effectively was just working to endear myself to those folks, and then they'd give me some stage time, and that gave me a platform to do what I needed to do. And it's, not that I did not believe in the things that I was saying. It was absolutely I did. I was trying to facilitate peaceful conversation. But the days that we live in now are different fucking times.
It's a little different than then, huh? I mean, that's something we can talk about because, honestly, I remember when we started talking, I reached out to you because I felt I connected with Rod in a very specific way, was that at the beginning of all this, in 2015, when the first Trump rally ever happened, it was almost like we were the first ones who really cared about like what was actually said at that event and the reactions to it. And we had I reached out to him because I saw that he was there and it was starting, and I had noticed the rhetoric and I compared notes and I was like, this sounds like the beginnings of a new surge of racism in this country, and the introduction of this rhetoric is gonna be like pulling a string that's going to unravel something, and that it's very dangerous, and we have to see to it that this guy doesn't get elected. Because the political machine, and we can get into the mess that it is, but there's no specific way to untangle it so much at this point. I feel like we're just like, we're on like what is it, up the river with no paddles, right? So like, it's just strap in there. And vote your conscience and just strap in there.
Right. So one of those first ones that I was at was in Rochester, New Hampshire, which was September of 2015. And that was, at the time, it seemed like a crazy thing that one of the people said, well, what are we going to do with these Muslims? And, Donald Trump made some kind of flippant remark about how we were going to get rid of them. And that was a big scandal at the time. And obviously at this stage, just nothing is shocking because he'll say everything horrible under the sun. And in this particular incident, he still didn't even know what the speeches were going to be. I mean, it's a stretch to call them speeches. He would ramble for 20 minutes, and then he would literally say to the audience, "Well, what are we going to do now? What should we talk about? What should we talk about now? What should
Yeah, it's almost like he's the comic that everyone accused Kramer of being. Except he's not. He's doing that routine, and he's doing the racist routine in front of the racist people, which is why he's not getting booed off stage.
Yes, absolutely. And I think there was probably a lot of folks that evidently were unhappy with the Barack Obama presidency, I guess because he's black and that's all they can fucking see, which is gross. We get all that. But so, shortly after he ran out of things to say at this Rochester rally, he's, okay, what should we talk about? I yell out, oh, Bible verse. And so I'm waiting for the microphone, and there's no microphone there. And so he says, just shout it out. So it looked to the news cameras like I was heckling. I was not heckling. I was just doing what he had asked, which is to shout out the Bible verse so we could hear it. So I say, 1 Timothy 3, 1-7, it's noble to seek the office of overseer, but he who does should be above reproach, sober-minded, not quarrelsome, married only once, and not a lover of money. What sayest thou, Mr. Trump? And he just comes back with, oh, boy, am I in trouble. Oh, boy, am I in trouble.
At least he admitted it. He was more honest back then, wasn't he?
Yeah, he really was. And then he just moved on to the next thing. And so for saying what I said, I got a lot of boos, and then on the way out, I got roughed up. And so it was October 12th, which was, I don't know, like a week or two after that. So he's giving another speech at one of these multi-candidate events where Bernie Sanders and Chris Christie and everyone under the sun was there. So it wasn't a Trump event. And Trump finishes his 20-minute talk, and I'm like in the very front row, like not as close as you and I, but maybe 5 feet away. As far as that lamp, which the people can't see, but you get it, 5 feet away. And so there was they were having an audio issue. They're plugging in mics or what the hell it is. And so there was just dead silence. And I raised my hand and said, Mr. Trump, were you aware that I was roughed up at your previous rally? Can you speak to that? And I didn't really hear his response because they're fucking messing with the microphones or whatever it is. There's a commotion. And he just responds with a quip, which is, you look healthier than me. And again, there's laughter and they're moving on to the next thing. And I'm kind of just like, what happened? And I get a tap on the shoulder, which is his head security guy for the day, Edward Deck. And this is the crux of the case.
The infamous Edward Deck.
Or Edward John Deck. Just like Donald Trump, his middle name is John. And he goes by Eddie. So he's Eddie John. What's up, Eddie John? And he's a junior. Eddie John Jr. What's up, Eddie John Jr.? So he says, if you want to get a question in there, you got to go to the back room. You got to go to the microphone. So I kind of see that there's a charade going on there. But nonetheless, I decide to, make the best of it and see if I can find this microphone that he's talking about. So I get to the back of the room. I see no microphone. I turn around, and there's kind of like a wall of Trumpers who kind of box me in. And there's this other guy, Fred Doucette, who's a New Hampshire state rep, and he's like, "You want the microphone? You're not going to get the fucking microphone." And so there's this interaction where Deck comes over, and he's getting in my face, and I'm just like, "Dude, what are you doing?" And he's like, you don't want the mic or whatever. He says, "You want to know my name? I'm about to fucking write my name all over your fucking face." Like, it's all this Tony Soprano, New Jersey Yahoo, stuff where they're, kind of giving the inflection that they're gonna bury my body out by the march, by like the Meadowlands, and like in New Jersey, like full on Tony Soprano crap.
Right.
And so I just stand my ground, like all the conservatives, love about George Zimmerman. Stand your ground. You got to stand your ground. And I know that Florida literally has a stand your ground law, and New Hampshire does not. But it's really like all these Blue Lives Matter things. They love the laws when it protects them. But if heaven forbid, it's a dirty liberal who's standing their ground.
Dear Lord, yeah.
You can go fuck yourself. But point being is, so I stood my ground, and then Trump starts talking about someone needing the mic. So I raise my hand, like, I'm over here, I need the mic. At which point I'm raising my hand, and a cop grabs me from behind and puts me in an arm lock. And Deck comes over and grabs the other arm, and they start pushing me out of the room, and then can throw me into this table and knocks it down. Causes this big commotion. I'm trying to get up, and I'm thinking to myself, you're not a cop. This guy is not a fucking licensed cop nor a security guard. He's just a fucking citizen beating me up.
Right, whoever he is.
So according to 42 U.S.C. 1983, otherwise known as the KKK Act, which is one of the biggest civil rights laws, which they basically used for the KKK working with police officers for what they call working under the color of law. It was a big part of it is to stop police officers working with the KKK, and not just the KKK, but any fucking racist-ass motherfuckers who are doing the fucking bidding of someone like Donald Trump.
Right,
so,
isn't that ironic?
So they rough me up some more. They throw me into the velvet ropes. I get tangled up there. They take me outside, and then they detain me. And I said, "Am I being detained?" They say, "Yes, you're being detained." And at that point, there was I counted 16 cameramen of like these mainstream journalists. They're all filming me, and then so I give my speech. If this is how Donald Trump, candidacy is going to be run, what can we expect out of a Donald Trump presidency? You're going to destroy the First Amendment. No one is going to have any rights, and it's exactly what the fuck we're seeing out in the streets these days.
Sure.
So then the sergeant...
It really came true, by the way.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then so the sergeant comes out, and he's like, "You're free to go." And so I'm like, "Fine, but I want to file a report." So he's like... So, well, you can't do it here. We're going to walk down the street. So he walks me out the block, and then he turns around. I'm like, no. I want to file a report now. So so he comes back. I file the report, and he tells me, okay, I'm going to sit on the park bench. And then he sends over the guy who, like, fucking roughed me up, and start yelling to him, help, officer. Like, could you bring over some other guy other than the guy who beat me up? And then so that was raising my voice, and that was the thing that they got me on. Well, so it's a retaliatory arrest,
right?
Is what they call that. And so they came over and arrested me and threw me in the paddy wagon, and started playing Eminem, which was weird.
Is that really what happened?
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember once I got picked up on a weed charge. You know what I mean? I was in the back. A cop had found me with some weed. I mean, literally, that's like if you could really take a wild guess what I was. Anytime I get in trouble, that it's pretty much for that. But that's what it is, and I'm in the back, and like he's listening to Howard Stern, and you know what I mean? That just was like perfect for me because I was able to sort of like laugh with him and make some jokes. You listen to the show,
it's nonsensical.
I'm into it, right? We sort of bonded as Stern listeners. That like literally when he was like writing up the charge in the station, and he was writing like operating like he was writing up an OUI. And I leaned into him, and I Obi-Wan Kenobi'd him. I literally just said, "You could just put that in his possession." And then he sort of looked up at me and was like, Okay.
Yeah.
And he did it, and I really think it was the Stern show that saved my life in that time.
Nice.
Because I was able to bro him out just enough that he didn't want to do that to me.
Oh, that's good. But so that's that incident is basically the crux of the lawsuit, and so initially I had to go.
Which is still going on. So that was. Let's just make sure that everyone knows.
5 years.
That was 5 years ago that Rod got thrown over a table by the road head of Trump security, who had no official actual designation, worked for no real company. Let's get into what. Okay, so Rod was thrown over a table. So what happens? What do you do? What are his options? It's Donald Trump and his goons, because these are goons. We discovered that these are actually goons. And that shouldn't surprise you, because, like, we've seen his goons, like this Lev Parnas, and those are technically, what's-his-face's goons. What's his name again? Why am I... Manafort. Montesquieu.
Paul Manafort's Montezuma.
Paul Manafort. Those are his goons, the Ukrainians. But, I mean, they're goons. I mean, Trump has goons. And this guy, Ed Deck, was another one of these goons. Yep. And so what do you do? How do you go after the President of the United States, who's Donald Trump?
So you file a civil lawsuit. In this particular case, this Eddie Deck guy actually has a shell company, and so that's with Gary Uher and Keith Schiller, who you might have seen. Edward Deck and Schiller are the two guys who beat up the Mexican protesters in 2015 who were wearing KKK hoods at Trump Tower to protest the fact that Donald Trump hates Mexicans. So one of these guys ended up getting punched in the face by Deck, and this is cited in my lawsuit. And I bring this up. It's Galicia versus Trump. There's a bunch of other ones like Summer Zervos versus Trump. There's a bunch of versus Trump cases, and a lot of them now are these credible allegations of rape, like the one with E. Joan. Now I'm blanking on her last name, but she just filed the thing where the judge is going to allow this semen stain dress in there, and a case of this size, you're not going to even attempt to submit something like that into evidence unless you've got the goods. So my prediction is that Donald Trump is soon going to be found out to be a rapist in a court of law. Now, it's not a criminal court because the statute of limitations, it's too far past, but we're talking about a civil trial in which he will be found to be a rapist. But the point is, getting back to my case, is that Edward Deck has this shell company with Gary Uher and Keith Schiller, and it's called, or it was called Xmark. They've just liquidated it because of my lawsuit.
Right. That's the thing. I remember you saying that. There was a company, and now there isn't a company.
Yeah. And I should say for the record, because now I know because they've filed stuff with the court, they monitor all of this. So everything that I say here, they're paying someone probably thousands of dollars to listen to all of this and submit it into the court record.
I'm glad somebody's listening. No, I can see you out there. There's people out there.
Yeah, there you are.
Yeah.
And so it's called Xmark, and in my opinion, is used as a shell to protect them from liability. So in the initial stages, I ended up actually mailing out the complaint is what it's called, to Xmark, thinking I was mailing it to Edward Deck because he had so many shell addresses for his shell company, and then through something called equitable estoppel, I don't want to get too deep into legalese, but basically what it was is that there's kind of like a statute of limitations on when you can add someone to the lawsuit, and so in the initial lawsuit I had named Xmark, but I was able to add it on because I had mistakenly mailed it to the actual company, and so there's just these shenanigans that went on for months and months and months,
right,
where Donald Trump had actually rerouted the mail to the USPS, and I had to get a 4,000-page FOIA request in order to prove that there's White House emails that they were fucking using the U.S. Postal Service in order to fucking stop my lawsuit.
What a big shock. Nowadays,
yes,
it's kind of topical, wouldn't you say?
And I've made that point that all the way back in 2019, I was calling out Donald Trump for this is obstruction of process, which is obstruction of justice, and this is a federal crime, tampering with the U.S. Postal Service. and Donald Trump was having it rerouted to a place called Trump for America, which is fine that he has all these shell companies, but it's not fine for him to reroute the mail. That is highly illegal. Right there, if I was, filing for, criminal charges, I could, like if I was a cop, I could have him brought up on that. But they're not going to follow through with that because it's just a civil thing. So I'm effectively the prosecutor, but I have no ability to go after him for that. I only have the ability to go after him for the things that he's done. So I cited all these other cases for something called like alter ego doctrine, which means that so you saw in the Zervos case, it's or actually in the Galicia case too, but so Donald Trump, the man, the company, that's the two Trump organizations, which they used to obfuscate from one to the other. So Donald Trump, the man, the company, and the campaign are all one and the same. And so the judges in both of those cases ruled that that was a fucking thing, meaning that if you went after one, you could go after them all. And so through something called respondeat superior, that it's basically what that means in Latin is that the boss is responsible. The superior is responsible for the actions of his employees. And so Edward Deck is an employee, as well as this other guy, Fred Doucette. And so they're making a wall around me. And so in legal terms, that's what you call false imprisonment. This does not mean that actually doesn't refer to the arrest. That's a separate thing.
Right, because we're not talking about like jail cell imprisonment. We're talking about like imprisonment. They impeded your free space.
Precisely.
Yes.
And they were doing so intentionally. So now the judge in the case has given an order to allow me to proceed on assault, battery, false imprisonment, fraud. So when they did the misrepresentation about the microphone, that's what's considered fraud. And so there's negligent hiring and a bunch of civil rights charges. So, preventing free speech and all those color of law charges. So I think it's like a total of 14 various charges which they're allowing to proceed, which means that in the near future, assuming they're so what they did, so I had to, so how do I put this? Like about a week and a half ago, we had what's called a pre-trial conference.
Right.
Where in general you'd go into the courtroom for one of these things where you sit in front of the judge and you're putting all your papers, on there to come up with a schedule. So they force the lawyers, and in this case, I am a lawyer.
You are now.
Well, for the purposes of the court, I'm what's called a pro se attorney. Which basically just means that I'm representing myself according to the American bar. So I'm not barred. So I can't represent you or you or you, but I can represent myself.
Right.
And so all the attorneys have to work together in order to come up with a schedule for discovery. Discovery is the process of getting all the information together where we can then do subpoenas and we can do interrogatories. Interrogatories are basically, so you get come up with a list of like 25 questions that are printed, and then you get to depose them, which means that you bring them in and you, do your in-person questions against, what they've written. And so that's coming up in the near future, assuming I get through their filing for summary judgment. So summary judgment is basically where they're saying, we want the judge to decide right now. And I think it's highly unlikely that the judges, after everything that's been filed, I believe, at this stage, between all of us, 175 or 176 motions.
Unbelievable.
And so I've been going toe-to-toe with, at the highest point, I think there was it was about 24 attorneys against me.
Right. Yeah, you didn't have make that clear. They weren't on your side.
Right, and so it's, but it's also not face to face like Perry Mason. I get to take my time and look up all the laws, and I'm smart enough to do that. But the nice thing about this stage is that you get the interrogatories, and then you get to go back and forth. And, assuming they don't slip me up on technicalities. That's what they always say about the pro se attorneys, is that you get slipped up on technicalities. And so that's what they're trying to do, and that's why they're trying to do this summary judgment. So that's setting back me working on the discovery stuff, and so I have to file a bunch of bullshit, to respond to that, because they just, after basically after 100, and some of these motions are like 50 or 100 pages long. Not all of them. Some are just a page long. But we're talking about like probably over 1,000 pages worth of stuff. And they're now at this stage, they're basically trying to relitigate the case. So what they did was they basically got all of their players, like Edward Deck and Doucette and all these people, to file affidavits, which they all completely lied. And so you can see, looking at FEC filings, that it's in complete contradiction with these FEC filings, but they don't care because it's unlikely that the actual judge is looking at it, that it's a court clerk that's actually like, straight out of college, and I'm just going through this stuff. Then the judge signs off on it. And so what they're trying to do is obfuscate what's actually happened in all these motions. In fact, they denied my video evidence at the very end of it, even though the word video was mentioned something like 200 times. And so I was like, this is the crux of my case. If you're able to look at the video, you should see that that these people are in the wrong. And the reason that they denied the video evidence was, in my opinion, was not legal and would be overturned on appeal. Basically what they said is that I submitted so much evidence that they didn't have the time to look at it. And this is the problem with our legal system, is that it's called discretion. So whether it's the cop who has the discretion to shoot you in the back 7 times, like they just did with Jacob Blake,
Right.
or the judge that has the discretion to do this, or a jury which has the discretion to make a bad decision because like they're a bunch of Klansmen. This is the fucking center of the problem with our legal system. But anyhow, that's where we're at right now. I think I have, like another week and a half or, to get the response to the summary judgment. And then, I'll move on soon to subpoenaing Donald Trump. And, I mean, it's unlikely that the President of the United States will show up, but...
oh, man.
I
think it's highly unlikely.
Highly unlikely. But, from a legal standpoint, these are things that are coming up.
Well, listen, let's just get into the reality that a guy like Trump has made himself impervious to these types of things. He has been stiffing, construction companies and anyone who does business for him over the years, and they all try to litigate him to like no success, and whatever success they might have, they sign a non-disclosure. Yeah. And it all happens behind closed door with a greasy payout. I'm
sorry, I got to jump back in. That made me. It reminded me. Her name is E. Jean Carroll, and so she was an advice columnist. She's the one with the semen stained dress. What reminded me there is that basically it's a defamation lawsuit which she filed because again the statute of limitations had gone too far for her to file criminal charges on this.
Right.
But so then she had She made the allegations, and then Donald Trump basically defamed her, saying that she's a liar, and so her comeback now, since she's suing Donald Trump over this, is to say, no, I got the fucking dress, you motherfucker, you raped me. So.
Well, we're all. I mean, I don't know who was watching my show that might not.
Didn't mean to make it heavy. I'm sorry.
That might be a fan of the current president.
Yeah, well.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things. If you are a fan of the current president, then you're watching this show. Then at least be prepared to hear something negative about him, because I'm not a fan of him, and Rod, I know, is not a fan of pretty much anyone you'll find.
These are just
in
facts,
Washington.
man. Yeah. I'm not a fan of Joe Biden. Fuck
right.
that guy
yeah.
too.
He doesn't like Joe Biden. I don't like Joe Biden.
Fuck that guy.
But I'm where Rod and I sort of disagree. I mean, I think basically we disagree because I don't think he'll ever vote for Joe Biden. Exactly, but I will. Even though I'm in Massachusetts, and that's kind of
it's too late.
If everyone in Massachusetts said, "Oh well, I'm in
Trump's getting 8
Massachusetts,
years.
so I don't have to vote for him,"
Trump's getting 8 years.
Yeah, Rod pretty much called this from the beginning that it's like he's like a golem, like they say. He's like a monster.
He's on the streets, dude.
He's a monster made out of human hate. You know what I mean? And we've sort of created him, and we've let him loose. And there's nothing we can do. He's made from our
your tears and your suffering.
Yeah, it's like all of our neglect, basically, all of our willingness to let the television raise our kids, as opposed to like putting good values in them and telling them to be good to people because you want treat people like you would have them treat you.
Yeah.
Exactly, like that is exactly what we're missing right now. That.
It's not that. I mean, there's just so many layers of obfuscation and question of social or moral issues. Abortion on this side, or no, well, I want freedom of, autonomy over my body on the other side. They go back and forth, where we really know that Walmart and Amazon and all the other big companies are pulling the strings, Raytheon, Halliburton. I mean, these are
it
the
doesn't
people
matter who you get.
Yeah, I mean, they're destabilizing Venezuela and Iraq and Iran and Afghanistan and growing poppies out there.
What's funny, Rod, I have to mention is that, you have guys like, and we talk about Bernie Sanders, and, obviously there are some people who see him as the answer to all this, and then there's some people that see someone like Andrew Yang as the answer to all this. But they both, and I'm happy that they did, because we need to, if you're going to beat Donald Trump, you need to have everyone who opposes Donald Trump all just say, look, we are going to funnel our votes into one guy and pray for the best. Hopefully they pick the guy that's not going to, that can do some good for the country. While they rape it,
I think that's where you're mistaken. The problem is that we have to decentralize. As long as we're thinking that it's about this one or two or this binary choice.
I get that.
So why
this isn't the year.
No. Well, fine, but so the decentralization comes about by states pushing forward ranked choice voting, and ranked choice voting is the thing. If you're not familiar with it, it's kind of be more like a basketball spread where, Donald, like if you vote for Donald Trump, and he's your number one choice, that's weighted as 5. Bernie Sanders is your second choice, he's weighted as 4. And you might get a ton more people that put Sanders in at 4 and less 5s for Donald Trump, and end up having Bernie Sanders as the president through ranked choice voting. But at this stage, we've got the state of Maine, and that's about it. So we got a long way to go on that one.
Right. And, I think that's where I want to see us head. I think ultimately we need, like, extreme right platform. We need an extreme left platform. We need a centrist platform.
But have you heard of Portland, Oregon?
Right.
Dude, do you have any idea what the fucking pulse of the streets is? The pulse of the streets is fuck 12. Fuck 12 is. That's the 12th precinct, the police down in Atlanta. That's FTP. Fuck the police. And they put in fucking Kamala Harris. No. They're not going to win over the fucking progressives or whatever the fuck you want to call them, the radical left.
My one concern about her
fucking
choice.
Cop, the fucking dumbest thing they could have done. Trump is getting 8 years, and that's not a good thing.
No. It's definitely not a good thing. And that's good. No, but that actually sets me up, because how do you know about, Portland? It's because you've been there. It's like the thing that we didn't really get into. It's like we documented, his early history 5 years ago was that he got thrown over a table by Trump's head of security. But, I remember one of my most, for me, one of the most stirring shows that I got to do during the campaign was that back then, you were with Vermin Supreme at the Democratic Convention when there was all kinds of things, like instability. There were like people crashing gates, and it was quite a chaotic scene. And you guys had just really had a scare with some chaos, and I got to talk to you shortly after that, and it was really intense to sort of get in all that. So like there's a lot of things you saw then, and you're back at it for basically everything that's been happening, even since the virus took over the streets, essentially. There's been the multiple shootings, the protests in Minnesota. And basically, and then you went out to Seattle. Why don't you just break down where you've been since the start of, since the start of the quarantine era?
Well, if I can just touch on the DNC there, as you mentioned, it kind of was a scary scene there, but at this stage,
right? It's nothing.
It feels like nothing at all. And I'll say I was also at Standing Rock, and Standing Rock was 1,000 times scarier than the DNC.
Oh, dear Lord. And you were like hogtied on the side of the road by strangers, like who were
mercenaries.
Mercenaries who had threatened to come back and shoot you in your head or something like that, to that extent?
There were various threats. I don't want to go that far.
All right.
But they did hogtie me, and they realized that my hands were turning purple, or one of the guys. So, I don't know, maybe we should loosen them up. At which point I jumped up and tried to make a break for it, and they ran after me and tackled me, and that didn't work out well. And so they roughed me up, and you could see, like, I got a big cut on my forehead, and it got weird. But at any rate, that's neither here nor there. They're pepper spraying people in the face who were standing in the water, as you saw at Turtle Island.
By the way, and I want to mention this. I think I've done all of this right. Your YouTube is just under your name, Rod Weber?
Yeah, everything is. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So, YouTube, if you want to look it up, there it is.
Yep.
Rod Weber, YouTube. You see how I did that?
It's youtube.com/Rod.
Well, yeah, but I think everyone knows that.
Yeah.
This isn't a link they can click.
Fair enough. It's
YouTube,
not the 90s.
YouTube is Rod Weber. That's how you spell it. This is about as sophisticated as I can manage the tech on that show. I thought I did that dissolve quite nicely, right? Nice. Watch, and then I can sort of think if I do this right, I can maybe take it down.
Standing Rock was out of control, but basically what's happening now it dwarfs everything that was going on in 2016. And I think partially that's why my tone has hardened. And it's not appropriate to be wandering around trying to give people flowers and like, hey, let's have friendly discussion. In fact, I've been criticized for being too hardline with the way that I speak to police and people out on the campaign trail in general. But it's not for a lack of transformation throughout 2020. I didn't go straight to verbally kicking everyone in the dick. I really did try, and I had a rule.
No, you came out of the blocks like, dude, Rod is angry today. No, I mean it's not just today, I guess.
No. I mean, like I think the first rally that I went to in 2019 was Tulsi Gabbard in February or March of 2019.
Right.
So I mean, they started this stuff months, basically 6 months in advance compared to 2015, where they started on July 4th. They were starting this when there was still snow on the ground.
Right.
Like it was still winter time. And basically I asked Tulsi Gabbard, with what's happening with the DNC and all the cheating and the fraud lawsuit, which Jared and Elizabeth Beck brought forward, how can you see anything changing? And she says, well, they're going to do some switching around of the rules for the delegates. I'm like, yeah, I looked that up, Tulsi, and you are correct that on one level, yes, but if an emergency comes through, then they can still, pull the super delegates card, and you're still fucked. And it was like, whatever. And we talked about the Diebold voting machines, which were easily hacked by an 11-year-old girl at one of these hacker conventions. And she acknowledges all this. And Tulsi Gabbard, out of anyone, is probably the one that's going to acknowledge these things the most. But as I also pointed out to a lot of people.
And not surprisingly was the only one of the candidates not invited to be a part of the Democratic convention.
Well, right. But she also took money from Lockheed Martin back in 2018. So I pointed out to everyone that she was going to come around.
Right.
Because she can be bought. And you can see that on opensecrets.org. I highly recommend looking at these kind of websites because it's not what these politicians say. Forget what they say. Just see who their donors are. And what their voting record is, and then you can see how they're going to behave in the future. And I knew, even though she was talking, like I did a full interview with her about 9/11 because, it wasn't meant to be about that, but it was at one of her other rallies. Someone brought up the topic, and I, it just happened to, be trying to get an interview that day, and I'm like, well, now we can't not talk about this, and so she's willing to go weird places. In her discussion, but still at the end of the day, I'm thinking to myself, well, you took the money,
They all take the money in the end.
They all take the money in the end, and that always leads to bad places, and that's how we know that they're all bought and sold and controlled by the mega corporations.
Yeah, so who can you trust? Like I sort of like
no one.
Metaphysically, like I trusted Stevie Wonder. I even trusted Prince, like I trust Prince. I trusted my heroes. I trust music. That's my deal. And that's kind of like that's where I've been, like I bought an electric piano and
a guitar.
The guitar I had.
Oh.
Let's get that straight.
Okay.
That's the I'm just playing, but so I bought an electric piano and I just been playing it. You know what I mean? Like what am I going to do? Like I didn't need the pastime to go to do the show. I had a new friend, and I actually I moved it just now, but I had it set up next to my bed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You showed me earlier.
Yeah. It was pretty fun. So I mean, I just get to play all the time, and it's fun, and I'm doing that, and it's good for me. I actually took my first gig on keys with Barely Dead.
Yeah.
We did it's been a really weird to get into to life as a performing musician when there's nowhere to perform. So slowly they've been opening things up, and there have been a couple places that have been doing some outdoor shows with small bands, and we're able to cobble together multiple different combos of our band because we have such a, I think the ultimate number of members of our band are like 9. We have like 9 people. We have 3 guitar players, and
it's a big thing for the bar to pay for.
We have a depth chart. We have like three guitarists, and we field 2. You know what I mean? And it's just like, it's like that. So and 3 drummers.
What was the name of the guy on slide that you?
Oh, John DiCarlo sat in with us as a guest from the
sick.
Duppy Conqueror. Yeah. Shout out to John DiCarlo.
John DiCarlo. That shit was fucking the bomb.
Usually, he leaves that very pedal steel set up right over my right shoulder here.
Yeah.
I give it a home over here, but since he used it this weekend, he hasn't reset it up back over here. I'm not mad. Yeah. No, that was the whole plan, and so you got to give it to a guy like DiCarlo, because this is a good story for musicians, and we'll get back to the serious things, but I got to say, this guy.
The arts are more important to me. Believe it or not, like I do paintings, and I mean, like, so I believe in the arts more than the politics. The politics informs the art that I'm doing, and for me, it's interconnected. So I'm all about that. That version of No Quarter you did was fucking sick.
Right.
And then after that,
Thank you.
you did Shakedown Street.
Yeah.
And it was loose, but the Dead were loose, and the way that you were much tighter with No Quarter. But when you came back, I'm not.
I don't know what he's doing here. I don't know what he's doing here.
Well,
I think we were perfect. No, actually, we had a bunch of substitutes out there.
No. I don't mean in a bad way. I like that. Like
right.
Like we were talking about, the Dead were about being imperfect. Like Dylan,
well, that's what I was saying.
Like Dylan was about being imperfect. It was that you're kind of experimenting and trying to bring something fresh and new to what you're doing, and whereas like the keyboard player, the guitarist might have some vision in mind where I'm going to do this riff or some jazz odyssey in D minor, that it doesn't matter to the audience. They just kind of want to hear.
Now let me jump in here and say, now more than ever, the audience just want. The first band that played. So this weekend we did our weekend event that we had been doing this is the 4th one of its kind. It's at a private event in New Hampshire at someone's house that has large property by a lake. So actually, if you keep the numbers down, which we did, we sold a very limited number of tickets. It's always a very sort of limited event based on the space anyway. But we even dialed it back some more. And it's all legal right now in the state of New Hampshire to do the gathering at the size we did under the conditions. We had everyone there to supervise it, and we went forward with it. And we actually had, about 5 or 6 acts over 2 days. I remember the first band was DiCarlo's band, the Duppy Conquerors, and they were really good. And I know they were really good. But I was still as I was complimenting Kit Holiday, a singer in that band. You might even know Kit. You might have seen her before. Long curly red hair.
I know the name.
She performs with the Bellamys.
By the way, their new thing on Spotify, the AB's track.
Yeah, shout them out.
Yeah, was it I'm gonna screw it up. It's Dangerous Blackmail.
Yeah, maybe I can even pull that up.
Yeah,
maybe that'll give us something to listen to. We'll do that. Yeah.
Because and whoever they got singing on that, I really like the tone of that dude's voice.
Oh, that's Toussaint.
Yeah.
Yeah, Toussaint Liberator, I believe.
AB's. It's a really tight
dangerous.
track.
What is it? Dangerous Blackmail. What is it?
Just go to Aaron's page. I think you can just. It's on Aaron's.
Well, I'm not
Facebook.
logged into anything. If I actually. Oh yeah, maybe I can pull it up on my phone.
Yeah,
my phone's wired.
That track is the shit. Like, it's really tight.
Yeah.
But.
Well, let me get off of this. Hold on. This is exciting radio.
Yeah, we don't want to hear about these politics anymore. Although.
Well, we'll get back into it because, like I said, you've been everywhere, right?
Yeah, it's like two. It's like 2 posts down.
Oh, you should.
In fact,
on your page.
No. My page has so many shares,
right,
but
right.
on Aaron's page, I shared it on Aaron's page because I tagged him
on Aaron's personal.
Yes.
All right, good.
So it's like the second thing.
Gotcha.
You can pull it right up. But you're going to do it on there instead of here.
I got to.
Yeah.
I think my phone can handle this.
Yeah, I want to hear this shit. Everyone should hear this shit. Yeah, it's called threatening blackmail.
Okay, is this going to work? I don't know. Let me see. My phone.
I don't know. It was very exciting radio here.
I
So
know,
anyone who doesn't
the
know, the ABs is Aaron Bellamy and his lovely wife, Amy. Smoking Bowls, Bellamy, AB. Get it?
All right, let me see if I actually have any audio here for any of this stuff.
And as it says here, just so you have a little something to go on, words and music by Aaron Bellamy, vocals and additional lyrics by Paul Barrett Toussaint, the Liberator. Background vocals, Melissa Bowling. Isn't it fun?
Do you know? Wait, is it on this list? Yeah, there it is. Threatening blackmail.
Like I'm terrible in stuttering when I read.
No, I can't
words.
even access this on Spotify.
Why not?
Because I don't have Spotify.
But you could just be able to play it on his Facebook page.
Wait, I'm looking at a different link. It was this one.
Yeah, just play that, man.
All right, you got it. This should work. All right, we're going to take an audio break of us.
All right.
And listen to this. I think this should work.
Oh,
there it is. Okay, let's pull that up. Okay, I see what I did. I had it down for the other thing. Here we go.
Elementary school teacher supposed to teach the child wrong from right. Teach the youth to hunger for knowledge. In their love is neither black nor white. He teaches hate because he hates you. He teaches fear because he fears you too. He teaches envy because he's envious of the gifts that God has given you. He wants to see you kneel, pledge allegiance to the flag, send you to the principal's office. Hope you never come back. You're just a threatening black man, even though you're only 10 years old. Hey, you're just a threatening black man, threatening this sense of control. Policemen sworn to serve and protect, make sure everyone gets their proper respect. But the only thing that makes him feel just like a man is that big black stick up in his hand. He wants to break the will of a child, like an animal that's wicked and wild. He wants to see a deal, wants to see you kiss his feet. Another stripe on his uniform, another black boy lying dead in the street. You're just a threatening black man, almost 16 years old. You're just a threatening black man, threatening the sense of control. You feel so threatened by a blackmail child, wanna put you in a hole. He'll try to crush your dreams and take your life, but he can never have your soul. her bottom line. She got private prison shares and he's gonna do some time. She wants to see you kneel, wants to see you kiss her feet. She's gonna turn a profit. They don't care if she cheats. You're just a threatening blackmail. Just turning 18 years old. You're just a threatening blackmail. Threatening a sense of control. She feels so threatened by a blackmail child. Wanna put you in a hole. She'll try to crush your dreams and take your life. She could never have your soul.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Welcome back once again. This is the Michael Butler BUTZ Show in special downstairs quarantine edition here at Quarantine Studios in the, God bless the Sound Museum. God bless anyone who gives musicians a place. By the way, I want to give Casey Desmond a big shout out because she did a launch party for Jungle Up Records. And it was a big, I shared a link to it. It was a 6-hour streaming event where she had live shows, live streams, as well as a couple pre-records, I think, and she tied it all together with a couple different places from which it was being hosted from. And then I know that they're debuting a new Magic Room building in Norwood. And some of the shows, I think Casey was streaming her show from there, along with the one that she did with her sister. And I'm excited for this new building. I'm sure that you'll find me over there doing some things very soon. We're trying to get a few, and I think, there's talks of trying to get some shows going on. I don't know if we can do people inside, but maybe we can do people outside, and so, I don't know, maybe. But we're also going to be using that as a streaming location for other shows. So definitely follow the Magic Room. I think the Magic Room Gallery, the Magic Room. Look up the Magic Room, the Sound Museum. Get with the Desmonds. Especially if you're an artist, musician, you need a place. There are rooms available at the Sound Museum. This is like you can have an opportunity to get yourself a studio to do your own podcast from.
What are the rates like, Michael?
The rates are better than anyone else's. Who do something similar. So I will say they beat. I pretty much believe that they beat rates, and that's kind of a thing. I am not the guy to talk to for pricing. I'm not gonna go that far. It's like, oh, you want me to book a room? Well, let's see what we got in the schedule right here.
That's $5.95 for the hour.
Yeah. You
get a car wax and a lube down over at Casey Desmond's free lube and sound studio.
Right, and that's car lube, but I don't believe she has a
car lube.
Yeah, I don't believe she. That's what I hoped you meant, but no, but I'm just saying.
Like Breaking Bad, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's a
front.
It's a front.
That's all I was getting at.
No. Listen, anyway, what I'm saying here is
mind out of the gutter, dude.
No, dude. I don't know. I make jokes. That's what I do for a living, Rod. Or at least for the time that I log in here and clock out, I am a man of the microphone in this fashion. I'm a speaking man, and as opposed to the singing man that some people know. But I like this. So, yeah, I recommend I couldn't recommend getting involved with the Sound Museum more. Check it out. Get yourself a place. And so most importantly, like if you can't practice your instrument anywhere, this is where you do it. It's a necessity. Having this space here has allowed me to, just bathe myself in sound when, the world's, just to purify myself. It's like taking a shower from the negativity, right? How do you cleanse yourself from the evils of the world, from the misery of the now? I mean, this is big, Rod. There's a lot, yeah. It's a real time to sort of get adjusted to being a person. You can't, like me personally, the life that I used to live simply doesn't exist anymore. And I don't even know that it's coming back anytime soon. Like, I got some bullets left in the gun, like for a guy at my age, which is, it's up there. I'll say it's 45. I'm not even 46 yet, even though that's coming. It's coming pretty soon.
That's what comes after.
Yeah, it's coming. At my age, to have as many bullets left in the gun, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I'm in good shape. I could do this for, as far as I can see, I can't imagine things breaking down. But I hear they do eventually. So.
I would put out there that things have broken down significantly, and this is why I'm so pissed off at what the Democrats and the Republicans have done with the CARES Act, the stimulus package, and why all of this stuff that's happening is as much as it is definitely about George Floyd and Black Lives Matter. There's so much more that's going on, and it's one of the things that is difficult to talk about. So you say in just a Facebook post,
Right.
and even right here, you know, I don't want to get too deep into what people are doing out on the streets, but part of the reason that people can be out on the streets is because they can't work. So part of what's happening, and this is just my observation,
Right.
is that it seems to be folks are out there not just because of George Floyd, because everything is fucked. Everything is just completely and totally fucked. No one has a job, and so they're on board with George Floyd and BLM, and which again is another complicated thing because you've got Fox News going on about BLM, the corporation, versus BLM, the concept, and that's one of the big things that I try to explain to people.
Yeah,
when they're talking about it.
I did that at some point. I think on one of my shows I had to break down in detail that why do people say that hey, you support Black Lives Matter, that's a terrorist group, and it's
Right.
like well, okay, I think people just can't seem to get their head around that 99.9% of the people that say that they're for Black Lives Matter are for the concept.
Yes.
It's which is absolutely real and just. The concept took the concept as something, didn't realize it might have originated as the name of a group that was organizing protests or something
I
like that.
I wouldn't even say that it's a group that originated as a corporation as it has become. It's
Right.
the fact that Patrisse Cullors and the other three people who founded the corporation have said things to the effect of, I'm a trained Marxist. That's what Patrisse Cullors says, and that's her belief. Now we can get into the breakdown of what Marxism is and how Tucker Carlson and Fox News conflates that with Stalinism, which are two different things. And I would also posit to say that Marxism, as Marx envisioned it, is not even what Marxism has been for the past 50 years. And he could not have predicted the internet, Tinder, like video game chat rooms on what is that, Twitch?
Yeah.
Like debit cards, the flat screen TVs. Because the whole thing about Marxism was really Das Kapital, was a critique of capitalism, and so that applies to corporate capitalism, which is, or what we could even say is global capitalism, which is what is ruling the various governments of the world. You look back to the 1970s film Network, in which Ned Beatty gives a speech that there are no countries, are no borders, there are only corporations. And so Ned Beatty in that speech nails that fucking shit on the head.
Yeah.
And Marx could not envision any of that. So when people go out in the streets and they're saying like, well, I'm a smelly Marxist, they're really fucking trolling Fox News back. And there are people like Patrisse Cullors who that evidently went to school for Marxism, and that's good for her. But that is a corporation, and a corporation is inherently anti-Marxist. So it's ironic to even have formed a corporation. And as you say,
Yes.
99% of the people out there are out on the streets. And that money that might be coming into Black Lives Matter, the corporation, might be funneled to the DNC, and we see that through Act Blue. I don't know where the money is going, but the people on the streets have their heart in the right place.
Right.
And that's what we should be focused on, is the people with their hearts in the right place. The people who are out in the streets, get your fucking mind and your energy behind the people on the streets. That's where shit's happening.
Yeah, that's well said, and I think that's important. I think honestly, for those of you who are joining in now or haven't been with us for the whole time, this is Rod Weber. He's a filmmaker, he's a musician, he's a visual artist, and also I labeled you a provocateur, but it's really that's almost like a new thing. You weren't ever really trying to shake things up, but nowadays it's like the fervor of these Trump rallies. It's now you sort of realize that you can just go in there and cause a little chaos and get away with it, and like it drives them nuts. But as long as you stick to the code that you're not instigating violence, because you no matter what you say,
True.
You're not actually being violent.
Correct.
And while these things are happening, unless I think I saw you say in one of them, did these people secure like a meeting place with a permit for
Right.
something specifically? If they don't have a permit for what they're doing, then wherever they are, you have a right to be.
Yeah, it's just another public park, and I can do whatever I want. I have all the same rights that they have, and they did not secure those rights in that particular case, which was last Sunday, where I showed up with a gigantic cardboard cutout of a dick with Trump on it. Written
Yes,
on it.
Rod Weber on Facebook, YouTube. I believe that if you have that on both places, all the footage.
Yeah, it's all over.
Good, because Rod, this is really actually getting a lot of attention, and there's a lot. I think the thing, I think people are starting to say that clip did get a little bit of attention. I think.
Yeah, Lil Son did a write up. Ross Store did a write up. It's getting.
Yeah,
around.
Rod was at a demonstration, and I'm not quite. Obviously, I appreciate everyone staying tuned. I'm running tech today. I'm gonna take strides to be able to manage my own show, and props to John Lammi because I couldn't have even got started without his help. But we're moving right now. It's happening. The sound, I'm gonna listen back to it, and I'm gonna hang my head in shame. I'm sure. But it's a start. And Rod, I salute you for just encouraging me to just hit play and let's just go for it.
Garage band style, man.
Yeah, because, honestly, I miss doing the show, and if it became a little easier for me to just engage and I can get my system down here working, I think it's going to be something that I once again do with a little bit more regularity. So
before we got to the music, you had asked me, can you take me through 2020? And,
please.
I started off with Tulsi Gabbard before somehow we got on the topic of Aaron and the ABs.
Oh yeah, well,
which is a great topic, and
we're gonna go where we go.
Yeah,
because
I'm glad we went there, for sure, because it's a great track.
Well, I'm not on any network right now as of yet,
so we can do whatever we want.
But I feel the need to shout out. I have sponsorship. Officially. Now, I don't know if this is the show that I want to post sponsors to. Yes, and we are sponsored by Corona.
We are not.
No, I mean, that's actually a sponsor I want right now. I want to be able to say that. And look, if I sell a beer or two, so be it. But, I think in the other, we're more sponsored by the coronavirus, because if it wasn't for the virus, then I wouldn't have started doing this show. Yep. I mean, it's interesting how people can turn a negative into a positive because, like, for example, you take away my gigs, it means that I have to practice things like playing piano more, and it's enriched me in a way. And now I've played a couple gigs. You saw those Steely Dan shows. I've now played some keys with Barely Dead. I have a road. I mean, it's been good for me in a lot of ways, but the way that it's bad for me is that I miss people. I miss my old life.
Yeah.
It's like, what I do doesn't exist anymore, and we did it this weekend. And, you were watching it, and I said something so simple that sounded like I was like, ooh, that was deep. But it was. It was like I simply said to the
it's all
mic,
a dream, right?
I said, this really feels like I'm dreaming. Like, I'm dreaming. I think it feels like I'm dreaming. And I had to repeat it a few times because, like, there's no other way to say it. I felt like I was dreaming when I was there.
We don't get any second chances. This is a life that we choose to live, and you better fucking nail it. And if you can't get your shit together, that's cool. Let me
tell you what I'm going through is that I felt like it took me 45 years, but I finally nailed it, and then it disappeared. Like the life that I was building for myself.
Yeah.
It's like I got to that point where I was finally like comfortable and happy that I was like musically I think I'm where I belong, and and good things are starting to happen from it, and I'm going to get to do these things. And the funny thing is that hasn't stopped, but the way that I had built it is gone, and that was what I was going for that because. For example, if you know me really well, you know that like before I ever had a gig that you'd find at a festival, I would just be at the festival, and you knew me because I was there and I was living it up, and I had a certain way of going about it that made you say, I don't know who this kid is, but I like him.
Yeah.
All right, and that's the whole thing about it. That was my life before, like I found a way to, instead of like being a guest of a band at a festival, I become a band at the festival.
Yeah.
But still, like I was just getting to that. That's really where I was trying to be, and now it's gone.
Right.
It's really a thing to adjust to. So getting used to that has been quite a challenge. But that's why it's like, okay, but then you get to experience it again for a second, and like an oasis. It was just the most surreal experience this weekend. It was such a beautiful thing. Once again, I want to just, for those of you who are there listening or anything, thanks for coming. Thanks for being a part of it. I want to shout out Eric Alice and his father Ken for being such gracious hosts. They really did something. They even created an art. Eric built an art installation to where he he created the side. He used the original artwork from Inside Thunder Road that was donated by Michael Whitehead for the exhibit in there that had been hanging on the walls the whole time. He does like our show posters as well. So there was like, the
Like
posters.
the one in the bathroom?
Not sure that was one of his. I'll show you one. I have one of his here. But yeah, no, he does. So he did those, and so the posters, and the art inside Thunder Road. He hung all that, and they created like he built a facade, the Thunder Road facade, and like a brick wall, like sort of to hang it on that looked like Thunder Road. So it's basically built the side of Thunder Road with a doorway. Mm-hmm. So we actually had the door guy for Thunder Road. He was hanging out in his faux doorway. And it just created a place. Like during set break, everyone was hanging out in front of the door to Thunder Road just like they would.
Nice.
I mean, it was such a beautiful experience. The weather cooperated. You really couldn't have asked for a better weekend. And I just hope that, we don't find that, we did a bad thing passing around, something that happened there. And we took all the necessary precautions, again. But there's just no way, like science and, it doesn't ask questions. It doesn't say, oh, well, we're not going to, the virus isn't going to spread because, you guys were so positive. It was, it was a good time.
Well, you never know.
Yeah, I mean, I want to believe, right. Thank you, Rod, because like I said to myself, man, it's hard to imagine anything bad coming from what we did today.
I mean, there's been that show that positivity can have a beneficial effect on your health. So, why not? I mean, that's really the thing with a lot of people losing their jobs, that they feel like they have no purpose. And I could be wrong, but I believe I saw an occasional headline here about suicide rates going up. And
wouldn't surprise me.
And so a lot of what's happening, I think, has taken people away from what they're used to doing, and they don't know what their purpose is anymore. And I mean, people struggle with, what the meaning of life and what they should be doing with themselves is all along anyhow. So you add something like this, and they're thinking to themselves, well, you're running my business in the ground. A lot of people tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people, I think it was 80,000 the last time I saw, which was a couple weeks ago, must be in the hundreds of thousands, have lost their businesses. And I know there was a lot of interjections and run-on sentence there. It was a terrible sentence. But the point is a lot of people have lost their businesses.
My God, and it's still going.
Yeah. So
the crazy thing, and I have to tell this story because there's a lot of things that have gone down, and it's nice to just sort of like have a situation where, like, you know what, we're the only ones in the room. Like, no one's we're not holding anyone up here. You know what I mean? If we feel like talking, we're going to talk.
Whatever we want, yeah.
Yeah, it's late. But I don't know. I was just thinking that, like, I don't know, it was good. I sort of lost my train of thought there. Where were we?
Well, I was just saying, I mean, people struggle. I mean, even without coronavirus,
right.
People struggle with, what is the meaning of life? A lot of people end up, having a family, whether by intention or by accidentally, and they live vicariously through their children, which
right.
I don't want to put down, but
no.
For those of us who don't have that.
With no children, there would be no us.
Exactly. But there are something, what is it, like 8 billion, or is it 8? How many people in the United States? It's
right. And there's
and
how many and just how many children in the world don't have a family? Like how many children are there?
Well, how many children are locked in cages because of Trump's
well,
horrible
yeah.
policies?
I mean, that was the first thing. That was the first thing I think. And how many of those children in America are actually sitting in those
right? And how many how many of those children have come here because the United States has intentionally destabilized their countries by bombing them, or like in the case of Venezuela, they're doing so in order to stage a coup.
Right.
And so then you got all these caravans coming up here, and it's like the Japanese concentration camps from 80 years ago. And the funny thing is that you got all these blue live Trumpers out there, and they're on about whatever the abortion rate and all, and we can talk about when life begins and these kinds of things, but there's these QAnon people who who are on about pedophile rings and what are we going to do about the children, and coronavirus is affecting my children, and I want my children to do this and that, and it's like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, Donald Trump, your fucking Lord and Savior, is just locking people up at the border for no fucking reason. They've come here seeking asylum, and you're just like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. I only care about my kids. Go fuck yourself.
But they don't, because they want their kids to go back to school where they might get sick.
Well, they're just fucking crazy. But,
well, see, because that doesn't add up, because I don't understand why it's those people who really don't value. Listen.
Well, that's what it is.
Here we
like
are.
they're pro-life when it comes to their child. Until they're not, it's none of the things make a difference. We're talking about the big dick that I brought to this rally or whatever, and so the hypocrisy that was shown there. I mean, like I'm basically doing.
Yeah, and he's not even saying, by the way, that like he's not like, yeah, Trump's a dick, Trump loves dick. He actually, what does he say? He says, like love Trump's dick. That's kind of like
sure, but actually,
it's not even inflammatory.
So for a lot of people that might not understand is that like I'm a documentarian, and I always make that clear. And so people see these clips, and they might just get a glimpse to what I'm doing, and it's taken out of context. It's always taken out of context. But there's a narrative story arc to what I'm doing, and it goes back to even at the beginnings of 2020 that I was shining a light on the whole Epstein didn't kill himself thing.
Right.
And so which touches into Bill Clinton and Donald Trump both riding on the Lolita Express, going to Pedophile Island. And this is in the flight logs. So as part of my overall coverage of 2020, I'm trying to weave a narrative in which I actually touch upon. If you go back like 3 episodes before, so this Sunday I brought the big dick.
Right.
And so
I had seen it before.
Right. So the episode before that, I'm talking about E. Jean Collins, who's the relationship therapist who is bringing forward this lawsuit with the semen stained dress. And so instead of a big dick there, what I did was I started just talking to the Trumpers, and I'm live streaming, and I said, yeah, that Joe Biden, he's a real touchy guy, right? And everyone's chiming in, yeah, he's a fucking rapist, he's a pedophile, he's fingering all these kids in the ass. Like, I mean, they're yelling at me like, the craziest fucking things that you can imagine. I said, yeah, but it's not just Trump. I'm sorry, it's not just Biden. And someone yells, yeah, it's Obama. I was like, no. What I was getting at is it's also Trump. And so this guy responds to me, says, dates and times. And so I had a list. And actually, I should have pulled out the list earlier. I'm not going to read the whole fucking thing. But if it is at the top of my notes, I'll read a couple of them. So I had this ready on that day. Jessica Leeds, airplane. These are credible allegations of rape against Donald Trump. There's 17 of them. I'll read the first 2, then I'll skip to the rest.
I mean, you might read as many as you want because it's like put it out there. Everyone should know these things.
So they were so upset by it. Jessica Leeds, airplane in the 1970s. Kristen Anderson, hand up the skirt, 1990s. Jill Harth, hand between the legs, 1992. Kathy Heller, unexpected kissing on the lips at a Mother's Day brunch in 1997. Temple Taggart McDowell, Miss USA contestant, kissed on the lips in 1997. Karina Virginia groped on the breasts at the U.S. Open in 1998.
Unbelievable.
Bridget Sullivan, Miss Universe contestant, Trump walked in while she was naked in 2000.
That's his move, by the way.
Bragged about it.
Yeah, he
bragged about it on the Howard Stern show in 2005.
I was just about to say that. I was like, that he's happy about that. I heard him bragging about it.
Right.
Go ahead.
Tasha Dixon, she was an Arizona beauty pageant. Trump walked in while she was naked. Also, Mindy McElroy grabbed her ass. At
Wait, where am I? Where am I? Excuse me. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm terribly sorry. Like he must have like a camera in there,
right?
So he knows exactly when to walk in when they're naked.
Right.
He must be watching already. He just likes to walk in there.
Rachel Crooks, 2005, forcefully started kissing her. Natasha
you can just do that, he says.
Yeah, that's one of his
They
things.
let you. Yeah.
Natasha Stoyev, 2005, forced against the wall, unwanted kissing. Jennifer Murphy, 2005, unwanted kissing on the set of The Apprentice. She was fired for not complying with the kiss.
With the kiss?
Yes.
Is that if you can fire someone for that? I guess it's Trump. He likes to say it.
It's a gray area, and you can certainly bring forward civil litigation because that's very iffy. I would say that he could be fined legally liable, and I don't know the details of that. She might have been.
She should hire you as her in court person.
Well, unfortunately, the American Bar Association, otherwise known as the ABA, is a private corporation that is in charge of who can be a lawyer within the American legal system. That's a bunch of bullshit.
That's a lot of power for a private organization to wield.
You're telling me.
Oh boy.
Jessica Drake, an adult film star. Trump forced himself on her and 2 other women, also porn stars, I believe, in 2009. It goes on and on and on. Summer Zervos, which I mentioned before, 2006, abused authority, asked the boss on The Apprentice to kiss her in a group on 2 separate occasions. Skip. So E. Jean Carroll, that's one I talked about. She was sexually assaulted by Trump, filed a defamation lawsuit when Trump denied that he raped her. Now a judge will allow a semen stain dress to be entered into the court record. So one of the things in the middle of all this, the same guy who said to me, dates and times,
Right.
once I got halfway through the list, he said, well, at least you didn't fly on the Lolita Express. And I'm like, that's where you're wrong.
Oh,
he absolutely
boy.
did, and there's flight logs for that.
Yeah. See, yeah. But and then they're like, never mind.
Well, that was really it.
It's an amazing thing that you can actually witness in real time, like cognitive dissonance these days.
Right.
It's like you can see it. You can see how like someone can see in real time when you say 2 + 2 = 5.
Yeah.
Every time.
George Orwell.
Yeah.
But so the thing is that the oversized dick that I brought to these rallies.
Yes, let's get back to the
is
oversized dick.
comedic and wonderful, and it pisses them off to no end. But it actually was a continuum of the sexual assault allegations, and I was trying to weave this into a greater tapestry of what the narrative story was. So this isn't out of the blue. It's actually symbolic of who Trump is, and to a lesser degree, at least there's credible allegations against Biden by Tara Reid. Now, again, none of these things have been proven in a court of law. I'd say that it's much more tight against Trump if they've got a semen-stained dress, because they're not like a...
That's how they got Clinton.
Exactly, put forward something like that and got the goods. Do you believe they have the goods? In the case of Tara Reid, she did make a pretty good case for it, but it's not the same as DNA evidence.
Okay.
Anyhow, I'm just saying. That is part of a larger narrative structure that I'm trying to put forward. And so, to answer your question, which was maybe 30 minutes ago, about taking you through 2020. So basically, my rule of thumb, as in contrast to 2016. 2016, I'm just giving out the flowers, and it's all peace and love and happiness,
Right.
sunshine, and rainbows spouting out
Right.
of my ass.
What you wanted to see was how people reacted to a simple gesture of being offered a flower for peace. Like, aren't we all for peace? Right? Isn't that like not a...
Right. So Martin Luther King brings up an interesting point. He says that peace is not simply the absence of tension, but the presence of justice. And so that was a very important thing going into 2020, especially when the riots or the looting or whatever you want to call them at this stage. So we bring up another one of his quotes, which is that a riot is the language of the unheard. And so it's because these people are unheard that they must resort to these kind of things. So going back to peace being the presence of justice, in order to get justice, they are acting out in this way to try to get it because they are being unheard. You tie all of these things together, and you see that they are ultimately seeking peace. What happened to George Floyd is far worse than a couple buildings being burned down, which again, so that's happening right now in Wisconsin. Check the live feeds. I don't want to switch someone from here.
Right.
Of course not. But
no, in this case, go right ahead. You know what I mean?
In the wake of the Jacob Blake shooting, it appears, at least the last time I checked, that he's still alive in critical condition. But they're burning that fucking shit down too. And so a lot of people on the streets are saying that peaceful protest hasn't worked, and that these fires are the closest thing to getting progress moving forward. They made a little bit of progress in Minneapolis as far as that. Then I think a lot of the votes have not actually moved forward. Whereas in Seattle, they're actually it looks like some votes have been taken, which are actually going to start to defund the police there. But other criticisms have been made because the head of the police there is a black woman. And so now they're making the argument, oh, well, it's a black woman who's going to get far less pay, than the last chief who was a white person, and how can we allow that? And really the answer is that, there needs to be major police reforms, regardless of race, and I think that there's going to be some rough patches getting through it, and I think that, we're going to see a lot more things set on fire in Wisconsin. And of course, there was Trayford Pellier, if I'm not mistaken the name. The guy was shot 10 times. The black man, he was shot 10 times by the police last night in Louisiana.
You were the one who informed me of that. I hadn't even looked that up yet.
Yeah, that's. I only started seeing that early like 11 this morning.
Right.
This morning. And so, I mean, I think a lot more shit is going to start popping off. And
yeah, which means you're probably. So I wanted to get into this, which is that for those tuning in once again, this is Rod Weber. You can follow him on everything. I would recommend going to his YouTube channel. And you can see
honestly, a lot of the things I'm posting more on Twitter because I got zucked.
Okay, right.
But, so I got my YouTube channel deleted.
But it's still it's back up there,
so
but it's not there. Okay.
Yeah. So after 5 months,
so let me take that down then. Well, that's just your name.
Well,
anyway.
yeah. I think Twitter is where I'm not zucked at this stage. But so basically, just to give an explanation, I mean, there's still plenty of stuff on my YouTube channel. But the algorithms don't favor me. They've basically done what they call a shadow ban. So now I have my channel back, but my videos don't get any views, and it's not in the algorithm, so it doesn't pop up in anyone's feeds. So a lot of
what's your Twitter?
Just same thing, Rod Weber.
Oh, okay. Let me just set this up. I gotta get the text right. And it's usually kind of at.
Yeah, at Rod Weber.
Yes.
And so Twitter only allows for 2 minutes and 20 seconds, so I've obviously confined all the videos to that size. And if there's a longer supercut that needs to be made, I do post it on YouTube with a link from Twitter popping over there, like the event, which is the Dicks for Trump, which happened this past Sunday.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, which was amazing, but also again, I lost my. So I had my iPhone stolen out of my hands, forcibly ripped out of it, fell in these bushes, and we can see in the videos afterwards that a woman picked it up and kept it for herself. So that's $1,000 down the drain right there. But again, I still haven't taken you through 2020, so I'm going to try to do it very rapidly. The thing is that. Unlike the Flowers for Peace of 2016, my method or my saying for myself was, I'll give you a fair interview if you respond fairly to me. It'll be straightforward. There'll be no tricks. But if you do shenanigans, you won't give me an interview after a bunch of times of me peacefully asking, the helmet goes on.
Right.
The helmet ping. I had a spaceman. It was just a silver helmet with the pointy things.
Oh, so I didn't realize that there was 3 strikes involved before you put it on every time?
There's a system.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. Because I was attempting to be fair.
Right.
And, so many of these folks, they're not interested in fairness. They have a mega agenda, which is put forward by their corporate donors. And so they don't want to deal with someone like me. And if it got to that point, then screw it. So I'm putting on the spaceman helmet, and I'm saying to Pete Buttigieg, yeah, so who do you think's gonna win it? Is it, the Martians or the Venusians? Like the Martians have rigged the election, and what are the Venusians gonna think of that? And
he's like, ha 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 ha.
He's just kind of like, I don't know, dude.
Ha ha.
And walks away.
Thanks for coming.
And then so I fall into the parking lot. And I'm like, you think I'm giving you a rough time now? Wait till you meet Vermin Supreme. See ya.
Yeah, right.
And,
everyone, you gotta love Vermin.
So there was a couple incidents like that, and I called Pete Buttigieg out on the fact that he had the homeless camps, evicted in his town of South Bend, and then in another interaction, it's like, hey, so who's powerful? The CIA is more powerful, your faction or Donald Trump's faction? I'm just kind of, following down the road in the snow, like, why won't you debate me? Like, I'm the only candidate who will investigate 9/11 and the death of Jeffrey Epstein. Come on, Pete. Like, what are you doing?
I want to know if there's a gang tattoo to join the Yang Gang. Like, is there an initiation is what I want to know. Do I just become a member of the gang?
I think you just have to be into math, dude.
But I don't feel like, even if I like the guy, I don't feel like I'm a gang member.
Indeed.
Right? Like, so, I don't know. Yang Gang, reach out to me. Let me know what I really have to do to become gang. I mean, I'm not saying I'm doing it. I just want to know. Maybe you're not going to tell me because I'm faking it.
Well, I think they're over. He quit.
No. That's the funny. He works for CNN now.
Yeah, I know.
It's like, that's got to be a tough pill to swallow for some of the gang.
I think he was kind of always auditioning for CNN, right?
Was he? I mean, that's what it looks like.
Well, the thing that they always joke, the CNN people, I forget exactly which anchor said it, was, looks like Tulsi Gabbard's just auditioning for Fox News.
Right.
Okay.
This world, Rod. You know, I gave someone the advice earlier. It's like, you know, they had said that, you know, well, I haven't really been paying that close attention to what's been going on because it's been driving me crazy. And I'm like, that's actually that's my advice to the world, is sort of like not to look away. I mean, look, it's such a fine line. Like Rod is out, and I have to remind you, Rod has been out in the streets for almost every significant incident that this country has seen in the last 5 years.
Sure.
You know,
I miss Charlottesville.
80%.
Yeah. And the reason I miss Charlottesville is because I had to be at Furman's 30th anniversary party with his wife.
That's a good reason.
I think so.
So, okay, so 2020.
So, yeah, 2020, that was the rule. So I got serious interviews with Deval Patrick and Tulsi Gabbard and a handful of other, smaller candidates. But Joe Biden wouldn't give me the time of day. Pete Buttigieg was kind of a dick. Klobuchar was a dick. Basically anyone who's really kind of making the headlines, who had corporate money behind them, they were dicks. And so I clowned on them. And, one of the big ones that I think is a favorite for folks is Joe Biden had done a rally, I forget what town it was, somewhere in New Hampshire, where, he hid literally an hour after the rally was done, and then finally came out and I sang to him. Joe Biden wrote the Patriot Act and works with segregationists.
I was just thinking, do you want to do a rendition on acoustic of that? I could hold this mic up to the acoustic. You could sing through that mic. Sure. I think that would work. I happen to have one of those. We'll let Rod do a tune over here.
Okay. There's a first.
It's a touching tale. Joe Biden wrote the Patriot Act, and because I will be voting for Joe Biden because that is like how I see it this year, and I actually am willing to make a deal that says like this year I vote for Democratic, next year it'll be neither, right? Okay. Like.
There's some question in my mind as to whether the elections are legitimate. If you read anything of Greg Palast,
I don't believe they're legitimate either.
So
I mean, there's proof now. We have enough proof to know that.
I mean, they're throwing out all kinds of ballots in the trash. If you look
exactly, it's those stories.
2016, hacking democracy. Like they thoroughly documented that the Diebold voting machines. They can be hacked by 11-year-olds. But anyhow.
All right, let's hear this song. This is you've been singing this on the campaign trail. This is Joe Biden. He sang it for Joe Biden. Yeah, this is Joe Biden wrote the Patriot Act, which he did.
Joe Biden wrote the Patriot Act. Now we're all screwed. There's nothing to do. Joe Biden works with segregationists. Now we're all screwed. Nothing to do. Joe Biden makes us go down the big hill. We're all going down. Joe Biden wrote the Patriot Act. Now we're all screwed. There's nothing to do. Nothing to do. Joe Biden wrote the Patriot Act.
Wait, I'm late. I didn't anticipate that I'd really need my my fake applause. Oh my God. Wait. Here we are. Yes.
I was afraid I was hot. That's why I was tilting away from the mic.
Oh, no, you're fine. I'm monitoring it. So what did Joe think of that number, by the way?
He just smiled with his big false teeth.
I think that smile is new. I mean, I think obviously
like his hair plugs.
All of these all of these candidates that we see go through like a fresh spackling. You know what I mean? Yeah. I remember like Mitt Romney. That was the name I was going to. I met Mitt Romney in person, and I thought he was like an animatronic dinosaur. You know what I mean? Like in person, like it's like, wait a minute,
right?
This isn't normal.
No, he's not. And then what? I thought that guy was a spray king lizard. But, like Donald Trump's got him fucking beat. He's the king maggot, lord of the the spray.
But he's got all of these the QAnoners convincing he's the savior.
Oh, I know.
From the lizard people.
But I mean that even goes back to the whole thing about John Titor, the time travel. If you're familiar with that conspiracy, I covered all that in the This Is Firm Supreme documentary. In which there's this theory that so Nikola Tesla, when he died, his paperwork, and this is like a documented fact, was picked up by John Trump, who's the uncle of Donald Trump. And you can hear actually Donald Trump, and I got all the clips together, like Donald Trump talking about John Trump, and then there's all these conspiracy theorists that believe that Donald Trump is a time traveler who got time travel technology through John Trump, who got it from Nikola Tesla. Then on top of that, me and Vermin met Donald Trump Jr., and we asked him about it.
Oh.
And so this is in the documentary.
I mean, do you get to tell me what he said, or do we have to wait for the documentary?
Well, I'll tell you right now. I mean, I did, because there's been a lot of hold-ups, through some technical stuff. But we do have
a teaser.
We've got a
special teaser for the BUTZ Show audience.
We have a little distribution deal with indie rights distribution. But Donald Trump Jr. says basically, well, I'll look into it when the technology exists. And we're like, it does exist. We've heard the conspiracy theories. Why are you lying to us, Junior? Donnie. Don Jr.
Oh, my God. See, now this, my even bigger fear than 4 more years of Trump is like is 4 years of Don Jr. someday.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
They're pushing it.
Or like
it.
Eric or whoever gets to be the one, because they thought it would be Jeb, but then it turned into George W.
Right,
so there's no reason why everyone thinks it's going to be Don Jr., but then all of a sudden Eric comes along, or the other way around, because I don't know which one seems more competent to you. They both seem like a couple assholes.
This was the title of the book that I wrote about the experience, which I'm working with a couple of folks to try to get out to a publisher. Was Maggots, How I Defeated the Bush Empire and Accidentally Gave You Donald Trump. So I mean, obviously it's a silly thing, but I kind of detail the early interactions with Jeb Bush, and point out that it was him latching onto this beflowered hippie, that showed that he was not tough enough for.
Among the great
supporters we're looking for.
Among the great exploits of Flower Man in 2015,
2016. 24
2016.
rallies with Jeb, in which he invited me on the stage to pray for peace.
Yes, and he knew Rod. They had talked, and so he's like, I see my friend Rod Weber here. Let's maybe he'll be willing to pray with me.
Oh, yeah, come on down.
I thought that was excellent.
Yes.
So, and then, of course, times...
like Proverbs 22:9, he was blessed of the eyes, bountiful, because he gives bread to the people. Nice little metaphors.
You see, if you're nice, you get the nice quotes from Rod.
Yeah, precisely.
You know what I mean?
That's exactly it. That's really just been my rule. If you're respectful...
Right.
I'm respectful back. If you're a douche, bring it. Bring out the helmet,
and
man.
that's the thing. It's like with
Fuck
Donald.
around and find out.
I have a secret fantasy that I'm gonna one of these. It would really be nice. Like I like Donald Trump is the devil, right? Sure, whatever you want to say. He's not a nice man. He shouldn't get my love or respect at any point. But I kind of have this secret fantasy of, and then it started the night that he bought that big.
I love and respect him just for the people monitoring this.
Oh, sure, fine. No, he's
go ahead.
he's a horse's ass.
Your secret fantasy.
My secret fantasy is it started the night that during I think there was no one to make food at the White House for the football team that had won the championship.
All the
right.
King
So he
McDonald's.
it was McDonald's. He went and bought out
that was crazy.
this huge spread of McDonald's burgers.
Hundreds.
And I've never seen him happy the whole time he's been president, except
He
in
was
this one picture in front of the giant buffet, because it's like that's who Trump is. He likes McDonald's. And seeing that much McDonald's made him happy.
It really did.
Okay, so he was really happy then.
It really, really
and
did.
something resonated in that happy face. I was like, this guy right here, I kind of just want to wait in line with him at the McDonald's and like have him like think that he's Donald Trump and he's rich and he's going to buy me a meal and then he's going to like get like a couple. Oh, we'll get the two for thing deal. And he's like, oh, now get your own.
Right.
And he's going to walk up and I'm like, aren't you funny?
Right.
And then I'd get my 2 fillet of fishes and sit down next to his 2 fillet of fishes or whatever. And I'd probably talk wrestling with him. You know what I mean? It was like, what was it like to shave Vince McMahon's head?
Or get thrown over or throw him over the table.
Oh yeah, and then
to
maybe
what happened to me.
right. Well, yeah. Stone Cold Steve Austin hit him with a stunner. You know what I mean?
Well, right. No, but I'm saying there's the scene where Donald Trump throws McMahon over the
right,
table.
and the irony there, and that's the thing, and maybe after we become good enough friends in that moment, I could be like. You threw my friend over the table.
That's the funny thing.
Maybe you can settle out of court with him.
In this pre-trial conference and all these things that I'm supposed to work with Trump's lawyers, where we have to be friends and be friendly and actually come up with a document together, which we submit jointly to the court. There was a couple times where Brian Gould, who is the head attorney for Trump, was saying some outlandish things, and I'm like, listen, Brian, your whole MO is to fucking cock block, people like myself. That you bring this litigation as far as you can to fucking drive people into the ground. And he's like, Rod, I don't know what you think my relationship is with Mr. Trump. I haven't even met him. I'm like, it doesn't matter, Brian. It's the expectation. This is why he hired your law firm, because you know what to do. And this is even what Noam Chomsky says about the mainstream media, the corporate media, is that confronted some of the mainstream people saying that, like, it's not that you're lying about your position about the Middle East or Syria or whatever it is, that you genuinely believe the lies that the government has told you, and that's why you've been elevated to this position of power. So the same thing is true with Trump's lawyers. Brian, you have been elevated to this position of power because we know you're a company man and you will toe the line and you do X, Y, and Z and you know what the expectations are, just like a mob hitman who brings you to the fucking Meadowlands in New Jersey like Tony Soprano or whoever the hell it is, Edward Deck or Fred Doucette or any of these fucking people. You know what your job is without it being articulated. And that's one of the big things about 42 U.S.C. 1983 is that there are specific, there's jurisprudence about this in which they say that it only takes a nod from a police officer to a KK member or to any of these people doing the brutalizing to show that there was a meeting of the minds. There's lawsuits which put this stuff forward. There's the Pruneyard shopping center case, in which it's put forward that free speech is not just I'm sorry, you can have a public-private forum in which free speech isn't exactly what you and I know it like as we see it on the news. So a public-private forum gets brought up in this shopping center case because there's like a police station that's a part of it. So the more, or there's an army center there, or there's a church there, or there's any of these variety of things. But when the hippies show up and they want to give out their anti-war flyers, the police are like, fuck off, you can't be here. So what this case brings up, the Pruneyard Shopping Center case brings up, is that you can have a privately owned place which functions as a public place. And there's all these kind of cases which come together. There's a confluence of things, which is what's so interesting about this No Labels conference, where Donald Trump gave his speech, where there's the alter ego doctrine at work, there's respondeat superior, there's all these things coming together where it's a public event in a private space, and basically because all of these things come together, this is why the judge ruled that I have a case, and basically what they have been saying is fucking bullshit, and even the FEC filings show it. But
well, that's one thing I always want to believe is that who knows where the political leanings of each member officer of the court could be, whether it's a judge or most particularly the judge. That's like the most important one, which way they lean. But
or sometimes a jury, really,
and definitely right if you're before a jury, because in most cases you probably won't be.
Right.
But it definitely matters. The people that who are swear oaths to the court system, actually use the letter of the law as their guide and are dispassionate about where what their own belief is as it sits to the strict definition of legalese, and it becomes that semantic battle.
There is no strict definition. Laws are not laws.
Well,
laws
right.
are how judges and juries rule upon laws.
It's this is exactly how it's always been. It's like I know from my upbringing as Jewish. I know that like from like the way the Talmud scholars and Torah scholars are always just the whole gig is just reinterpreting the text.
It's Socratic method to question everything.
Yeah, exactly. The whole thing is we have this is what we live our lives by. Now, did they mean this, or did they mean this when they said this? Because you can interpret it a million different ways.
That's one of the things that I mentioned Lauren Pezpisa earlier, and she's actually come out to a bunch of these things. One of the great things that she said in the Hacker Wars, which was the documentary about Occupy Anonymous, which I think came out in like 2012 or 2014. She says, the thing there's trolls who just do trolling for the sake of it, but then there's benevolent trolls, who do it for a greater good, which is in the tradition of the Socratic method to basically question everyone to the point that they fucking go nuts, and as a result, you reveal what their true self is, and I mean that to me was was one of the fucking greatest little fucking quotes that I've heard. It's one of the things that I admire that she out of anything in that movie, she fucking nailed that one on the head.
Right.
And I think that's also why she comes out to these things and she can appreciate all that any of us are doing in this vein.
Yeah, I caught her. I think it was the bootlicker rally.
There's a couple of those, so I don't know. She was definitely at a couple. We're talking about bootlicking. So
yeah, I saw that one. That was the one thing I saw you guys doing together, and I found that she got into the spirit of what you do quite well.
She's all into it.
She understood.
Yeah,
so that's good. Shout out to Lauren Pepisa.
Yeah, Socratic method.
Let's see. I mean, I'm starting to lose my wind a little bit.
That's all good,
But I think, honestly, it's just been great to get this going. I feel like I do want to give you a chance to close the book on 2020, bring us up to speed. So, it's basically the greater point. You've been out there at the front lines. I'm sure there's a million things we can talk about, and maybe we should really get into it down the road. But
yes. Well, so I'll just do like the quick version is basically the stuff that I talked about was the New Hampshire primaries. It bangs forward to the South Carolina primaries, at which point they start talking about COVID. And by the time the South Carolina primaries are done, and this is the thing, no one was coming out to the Joe Biden rallies. Those numbers were non-existent.
Well, there was no one who went to the Hillary rallies.
Well, exactly.
Before.
So there was that parallel with the Hillary rallies, and then by the time it was all done, at the very last day, all of a sudden, there's a rally in Virginia where a bunch more folks came out to that, and then Obama says to everyone, "You better drop out," and they all drop out, and then COVID happens, and
I mean, it might as well be Obama. Yeah.
Oh, I'm pretty sure it was literally Obama.
I want to think before he said it publicly, he sort of sent people to the door. Obama says you got to hit the bricks.
I'm pretty sure that's what happened, but yeah.
Obama says scram. It's Joe's town. See,
pretty much.
Yeah.
Yes,
he's my guy. I'm sending him in.
And then I think there was about a month of everyone staying at home and trying to figure out what they were doing. And then George Floyd gets killed, and I go off to Minneapolis, and I saw among the things that I saw cops doing drive-by shootings in white cargo vans. They roll up in the door, shooting munitions at us. I was in the middle of a drive-by shooting where people were just popping shit off. There was fires.
Now these are cops in these things, and they're shooting rubber bullets. Is that how they do it? Drive-by rubber bullet shootings?
I would say flashbangs, if I had to judge exactly what in this particular case. But still, that's pretty fucking dangerous.
It's
in that particular
terrifying.
So everything was on fire for blocks and blocks and blocks. I mean, as far as the eye could see. And so you would see people, putting accelerant in the doorways of stuff, and then throwing fireworks at it, and it would go up. And there were times where I'm filming, and they knew I was filming, and they would come in front of me, so that their arson would be on camera. And kind of the rule of thumb was you don't film anyone's face, otherwise you're going to get your head kicked in. And so you just kind of keep the camera doing what it's doing. But at one point I saw that like this guy had a torch and he's running across the street, and there was an idea of ethical arsonists. There was a philosophy behind what they were doing, and that they would only torch like big businesses that were about capitalism. If there was an apartment building or someone's home that was absolutely fucking off limits. And so I saw what they were doing, and I'm like, there's fucking apartment buildings, like there's an apartment complex above the business where the windows are all smashed. And so I ran over and I'm like, dude, all right, I'm live streaming, but it's down. I'm not pointing at your face. I'm not trying to call you out. I'm telling you, you cannot fucking torch this fucking building. And so right as I'm saying that, like, so his buddies come over and they say to me, or they say to him rather, like, yeah, this guy's right. No, you can't do this building. And so they agree. And then moments after that, like pop, like the cops are shooting flashbangs, and it's like and there's two vans. So the first van was already firing at us, and then you see the second van. It fucking throws open its door. And boom, boom, we're all running for cover. And they come back like the other way, and they're just fucking driving down the street. Just fucking, it's like it looks like a shotgun, but they're shooting like fireworks, like massive M80s at us. Like it's not a bomb per se. It's not a bullet. They call it a flashbang, but it's really fucking scary, whatever the fuck it is.
Right, and all this footage, by the way, is I'm leaving your Twitter information up. You can follow Rod on Twitter at Rod Weber.
Yeah, I mean, and so I was at, so they had burned down this whole Target. There was a car, there was cars that had driven inside, and they're fucking doing, the Blues, like they drive out the front door and they're smashing through the windows. I filmed that shit. There was another point where the National Guardsmen, I'd gone out to my car, I'd been filming for 3.5 hours, and I just needed a drink of water, so I went to my car to get a drink of water, and I came back, and I'm like, holy shit, what did I miss? So there's a black dude on the hood of his own car, and there's 4 National Guardsmen trying to wrestle him to the ground, and so there's a bunch of us other people being like, what the fuck, are you doing this again? You're reenacting what happened to George Floyd. Just let him the fuck go. And everyone's like, it's his fucking car, let him go. So they get him to the ground, and then one of the guardsmen jumps in the front seat of the car, and they drive away, and the black dude, they have him down on the ground, and they're like, okay, we got the car. And so they let him up, unlike what happened with Derek Chauvin. They let him up, and they all jump in their Humvee. And so the black dude who was previously down on the ground was like, fuck this shit. And he ran straight at the Humvee, and he jumped on the back of the Humvee.
I saw this.
And a bunch of other folks jumped on, with it. And the National Guardsmen
He took off.
They took off, and everyone fell off except the main dude. He hung on for dear life.
As long as you could see in the shot, he was still on the damn car. And they took the fuck off, is what they did.
Disappeared.
It's like, okay, what happened? And everyone's like, I don't know.
And a bunch of the people who had been watching my live stream actually looked into it. They're trying to find out. No one could figure out who he was, what happened.
Where he fucking went.
He just fucking disappeared.
And that's the other thing. Is okay, so you were in CHOP.
Yep.
Right? In Seattle.
Yep.
And I think it was actually in Oregon where they started disappearing people.
Yes.
That was where they sent in the secret police.
Yeah, the feds were just going there and grabbing people up. And,
they're just snatching guys just like you.
Yeah, well, but I mean, the other theory is that those are undercover police officers that they were just bringing back to the fold.
Ooh,
yeah.
I like that theory. See, now this is the whole thing. It's like we live in a day and age where people believe what they want to believe. They hear a story like that and they choose to believe that one.
Yeah,
but you could say that they were taking innocents and snatching them away, and it's like that's wrong. But we don't know shit about what happened there. Really, even Rod was there and he doesn't know what the fuck happened.
No idea.
So that's the whole thing. It's like this. And when I tell people who quote me one thing about, it's like, well, it says that this is bad for you and this is bad for you and this is bad for you. Well, something else says that other things are bad for you and those are good.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like we live in that world where where truth is so you have to determine it for yourself.
Well,
essentially.
that's the thing. I mean, with Portland, it's the same thing day in and day out, and I think they're on about day 90 right now.
Yeah.
And I basically headed out there, as soon as I saw that the feds came, and so it's nice and peaceful in the daytime. There's people walking around. In fact, the live stream that Fox News and Andy No stole from me was just I was doing what I call a walk around, where I wanted to show people, listen, it's fucking goddamn peaceful for 12, 16 hours of the day. And it's important, as boring as it is, it's important to know. And it's like, okay, there's riot ribs, they're giving out ribs and salads or whatever the hell you want. There's kids. And so there was a bunch of kids, toddlers, that had the fuck the police signs. And that was just, it was part of a much longer,
Right.
I think it was like a 45-minute video where I'm just like walking around. I didn't really think much of it at the time.
Right. The little
And-
kid walks by, and what does your sign say? Fuck the police.
Yeah, fuck the
Hey,
police.
It's a little
and
moment.
So, like Andy Nost, used a sock bucket puppet account to, steal that, which Laura Ingraham used for Ingraham Angle, and which, they could have argued that it was fair use. I'd still say.
Well, the funny
simply-
thing is you actually, I think they did reach out to you at first
Right.
and try to access it.
and that's how they
And
acknowledged.
how did you respond to them?
I said, "Fuck Fox News."
Yes, he's like, can I use your can Fox News use your clip rod? We'll pay you for it. Was it
No,
nice-
they didn't
they
even
didn't offer to pay?
No, they didn't even offer to pay.
Oh, these assholes.
So that was
So he said, "Fuck Fox News."
So
all
then when
day.
they broadcasted it, it showed that they were already aware that it was mine, but that they stripped my watermark off of it and then gave
Ooh.
credence to someone called Brittany31, which is Andy No's sock puppet account.
Right.
So
Brittany 31.
right, and
Brittany.
yeah,
Yeah.
so.
But that's interesting.
Yeah, so full transparency. Like there was some back and forth, and I threatened them with a lawsuit.
Yeah.
And since I know how lawsuits work, it was basically like they made an offer, and I was like, all right, fine, I took it.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm gonna. I still haven't seen it yet, but it's $5,000, so we'll see if that comes to fruition. But,
Yeah. I also want to point out that Rod does all of these things, and he basically
yeah. In the meantime, I'm broke.
right. In the meantime,
They stole my phone at this rally. $1,000 iPhone. So
yeah. So I'm just going to do a quick little swap of the information here, and you'll see that if you want to help Rod on the campaign trail,
I get no COVID dollars.
Right, exactly. He needs gas and such like that. It's basically there's something happening in Wisconsin right now.
I could be there.
Rod is probably making him leave here, hit the news, and just see if it's time, because he's probably going to head right there, I'm guessing.
It comes down to whether I can get a plane ticket. Really at the end of the day, I end up going to these things because people start bugging me, and they're like, "Are you going?"
Right.
I'm like, well,
I guess.
no, it's really,
I'm
no, it's
kidding.
it's honestly it comes down. I'm like, I'm broke. If people start chipping in, then
Right.
sure. Which is it feels like a terrible way to be, but the industry that I work in has been decimated by COVID, and I get no COVID dollars, and so
Right.
I really have no income other than if people want to send me out to this stuff, then great, I'm all for it.
Well, I'll say this much: there's no, Rod is not editing his footage. When he goes live, he's live streaming what's really happening, and there's no one who's doing that. There's no one who's doing that. I can tell you firsthand. I actually had him working for my old show officially. He had media clearance and credentials.
That's true.
That he was a credentialed media worker for my show.
That's true.
With a title. And even though I can't remember what that title was.
I think I have the card still.
That is a piece of history. You can resurrect that card. Actually, you
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
because the station's a non-entity. If they look it up, it's it doesn't really exist. Well,
But to be fair,
I got to legitimize this
I
shit
do
because
have
we got to send you back in the field officially again.
Sure. To be fair, I do cut stuff down for Twitter so people can quickly see it, but I tried to link to the live videos so you
Right.
can see the raw stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's just we live in a world where, media is hard to trust, if not impossible, and it's always partisan and skewed to what the people want to hear, because more than tell the truth, people want subscribers and links and success, right?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And, I've never been that guy, and neither of you. I'm here to tell the truth. I'll just turn it on, and whoever's listening at 2 o'clock on Facebook can hear me right now and can hear
Right.
Rod. But we'll do it just for that.
Yeah.
Because we just want to put it out there, man. It's like we're just trying to tell the truth. We're trying to tell our truths.
Yep.
And that's what you're going to get. It's like Rod might seem, and that's the thing, most people might think he's agitating. Oh, well, you must be like a lefty, Plant, going there and agitating the Trumpers. No, you just think these guys are a bunch of goofs and you want to mess with them.
Yeah, well, to be fair, I feel like I'm asking the hard questions that it might seem like that to people, but it's questions that need to be asked. And even when I was in Albany, and they had like the chief of the police out there being interviewed by the mainstream journalists, they were trying to say, well, isn't Blue Lives Matter a reaction to Black Lives Matter? And the guy just pussyfooted around the answer. And I'm like, when the corporate people were done, it's like, if I may jump in here, and then I held his feet to the fire, and all the corporate news people profusely thanked me. And I'm like, well, how hard was it to do? Just fucking hold his feet to the fire.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and then the reason why, like, I'm always so quick to have you on, and the reason why I did this show tonight was because, I'd found out that you were in the neighborhood, and I just wanted to stop by and just thank you, essentially, for your service. Yeah. Honestly, the reason why I invited you over here was not to do this show. I just simply wanted to say I've been seeing you.
We're just hanging out.
Yeah, I've been seeing what you're doing, and I just wanted to see you in person, just give you like a moment where you could relax and just enjoy the company of a buddy before you go out into another war zone.
Yeah, sure.
Right? So it's like, the thing that I like to say, and the reason why that the second I saw what you were doing, I wanted to say that by having you on my show, it's me saying that I not only do I support what you do, I think it's essential because honestly, it's like put up or shut up. There's a term now, social justice warrior. There's a lot of social media justice warriors.
Sure.
And people like to talk about it, but the one thing that all these people should be doing, and a lot of them, okay, to their credit, a lot of people are going out to protest now more than ever, and it's become a part of things. But even so, it's like, what Rod does is he rolls up his sleeves and he gets right into it. And if everyone did more, if there were more people doing what Rod was doing, there would be more change in this world. More, or different things would be happening. Right. And I honestly feel like it's just that important. And I want to support that where I can because, like, for example, I flash back, and I was about to say this a second ago, I flash back to when you were at Standing Rock. Mm. And when no one knew what was going on there, I could go on the air with someone who was there and telling me what was happening. And I found that essential to know what was going on because there was so much they weren't telling you about how they were, shooting projectiles in innocent people's faces. And freezing people with fire hoses, for hours at a time.
The big thing early on was Aaron Strode, who was a reporter for ABC, got shot in the face with a rubber bullet, and that was a big deal because she's a pretty white lady, and
but that just disappeared.
Well, yeah, I mean, because there were so many other crazy things that happened as well, but the fact that any of it was happening was abhorrent, and I mean, really, the local papers were taking their cues from what the police told them to say, and then the bigger corporate news took their cues from what the local papers wrote. And so it was really just like a police to news pipeline. It was a propaganda churning machine.
And if I'm not mistaken, didn't just recently they finally stopped production on that pipeline because it all went down for a little while
because hundreds of gallons of oil spilled and poisoned the land. As predicted. Exactly as predicted.
Exactly as predicted.
Yeah.
It's just funny. I mean, it's like, and that's
sad.
Well, it's that funny kind of, it's that sad kind of funny. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. It's like, this is what we got. It's like, you hate to say, I told you so, but it's like, you knew it was going to happen. It was like, and especially with, anything that could happen from the periphery of the rhetoric from Trump's campaign, and all that would lead to something that has happened.
Mm. Or even the stuff with Biden. I mean, by picking Kamala Harris, it's like a big fuck you to all the progressives and the people who are out in Portland. And honestly, I think that's going to come back to bite them, and that's why I expect that Trump will continue to be president. Which I don't think is a good thing.
No, it's always nice nowadays to be very careful, which I don't think is a good thing. It's like, I think he'll win, but I don't want him to. I don't want anyone to win, but someone's going to win, and it's probably going to be him. I don't know. Yeah. I don't want to believe it. I want to believe that there's this, that there's a middle that, wasn't for Hillary and that voted for Trump, but the middle is now, Nah, we tried that guy, and he didn't do a good job.
So 7 million voters were bumped off the voter rolls through cross-check in 2016. Now, and we're not even at the election, there's been 17 million. And with all the shenanigans they're doing with the post office, it's going to get worse and worse. Whether that's in Trump's favor or not, it's hard to say. But, they're clearly making efforts to fuck with the election. And so
yeah, that's pretty obvious. And today I was watching some highlights of the Postmaster General was getting grilled by a committee. Yeah, it was a big committee. I watched a little bit of it, and then I saw with the volume off that AOC had her turn. I didn't see much. I just saw that ooh.
Oh, so that's another one with AOC at the DNC. They give John Kasich, who's extremely anti-women's rights, with one of the craziest abortion bills ever put out there, as well as being an anti-union prick.
Right, they give him some prime time.
Right, he gets a 3-minute speech at the crossroads there, while AOC gets 30 seconds to say whatever it is and endorse Bernie Sanders. And what that says to me is the DNC is in favor of getting rid of women's rights and having them incubate fucking half-human, half-pig embryos at the bequest of John Kasich to do whatever fucking shit he's doing.
I'm gonna say this, and that's what it normally says. That's what it normally
says to me right now.
Yeah, that's what it normally would say. But I want to believe that right now we have to put all of that away and say,
oh, just ignore it.
Well, listen,
he's making women incubate half-human, half-pigs.
No.
Come on.
That's not what I'm saying.
Yes,
okay, well, that is what that is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying here is that, okay, it's much like I do in normal life, where I have friends who have different political views than me. And in some cases, I've, moved away from that friendship. But in other cases, I have not. And in a lot of cases, and in general, we have to be better than that, where we say, because it's part of our creed as Americans, where we're supposed to say, I recognize that everyone is different, and they're all entitled to their own opinion and their own belief, and I'm not going to judge your worth as a human being based on a political point of view. You know what I mean? So it's or anything like that. But it's so what's happening with Kasich might be one of these things where it's okay, we're going to suspend our needing to line up on all of our platform issues with this person when he's just going to say, hey, I come from the other side and I say this guy's a kook.
I'm just saying he's getting more time than AOC, who's in the party.
Well, that's and that's fine. And then they gave her they make little mistakes. This was a little mistake, but it was a mistake that they chose her probably because her platform was in line with Bernie Sanders to do the function of presenting his name to the convention.
Because he had earned enough delegates.
Right. So, but when she did that, they used it headline. She breaks from the party and picks Bernie in a big F-U to the party.
She really isn't, because again, she signed on for CARES. They're all sucking Nancy Pelosi's dick. And when she got there as a freshman congresswoman,
that wasn't an act of rebellion.
Everyone comes there and they have all these grandiose plans, and she thinks she's going to save everything. And they're like, well, if you want to keep your seat, you got to follow along with me, kid. You're going to be sucking on Pelosi dick. And so that's what everyone does, whether they're fucking AOC or Bernie Sanders. You follow, the party.
Right.
That's what it is. And the party follows the corporations who pay them.
Well, this is unbelievable. So you know what? So I think I'm going to get ready to do to jump out. But
I agree.
I will just say, I don't need to, drum this up too much. You're making a prediction once again. I had you do this back in 2015. In 2015, Rod Webber was on the record saying, I believe, this was long before, even Obama was laughing at him at the convention.
You have the clip?
Oh, I don't have it.
Okay.
I'm looking for my goodbye music.
Oh, I see.
But, I actually...
but I did.
Yeah, he called it. And I was like, oh, don't tell me that. And but I wanted to believe.
Me.
I didn't. Because we hadn't figured out yet that if you said he was going to win, that it didn't mean that you secretly supported him. It's
there's no way, shape, or form that I support him.
Right, exactly.
It's not a good thing.
All right, let me do this real quick.
I want to be wrong.
All right, wait, hold on. Let me get this back. I didn't do that right. You know what I mean? I got to do it again, of course. Well, it's been a while, but let's do it. All right, here we go. Well, ladies and gentlemen, yes, we have indeed arrived at the end of the show for today. I want to thank you, Rod, for stopping by. This was a nice treat. Thanks for getting me off my arse and getting into the arena. It's people like you that motivate me to want to do my part, you know, and this is the best I can do, is provide an opportunity for people to hear what you're doing. But honestly, like, I'm happy to bring you on here and share the work you do, because it is, you put your life on the line literally every time. And you may downplay that because you feel like you're, you know, sort of in your own zone and that you're legally protected to have the right to be there, and that should matter. But it's gotten a pretty little dicey once or twice.
The drive-by shooting was...
But, man, I'm glad you're safe. It's really good to see your face and have you over here. It's good to see anyone's face in person. It's good to do an interview with someone actually over here. And what I'm going to say is, where's my camera? It's right here. I'm going to say that, you know, this is not an official show. I don't have the microphones I would normally use. I just wanted to get things. I just wanted to do something where I could, you know, get Rod here, because it's so hard to line things up these days. But, you know, I will be coming back with a fresh slate of shows. I'm going to tune up this whole set here. You'll see there's music back here. I'm going to get bands in here. We'll be able to play. I'll give you some live bands. We'll interview them. We'll have them play. I want to thank Festify for signing on with me. They're going to juice up my signal. And we're going to I'm really excited for the future. I'm happy once again to be back. And until the next time, I'm going to leave you guys with this AB's track. Once again, shout out to Aaron and Amy Bellamy from me and Rod Weber. Thanks for coming by, Rod.
Thanks, Aaron. Thanks, Amy. Thanks, Mike.